Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 2nd of July, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
In an almost pleasant temperature.
And Robert Kent.
Somehow for July.
Actually close and regular.
Well, it's not that close either.
It's a little bit close.
Well, in here it is, because you didn't have the windows.
Oh, no, but it was, I don't know, the air's been thick for the last few days.
Not today, though. It's totally fine out there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fairly fresh and nice temperature. Nice enough being outside.
It's not
Pretty
as the BBC weather apps tried to tell everyone, 8 degrees.
What?
They had a software glitch, apparently, where it just told everyone that it was going to be, less than 10 degrees over the entire country.
Okay, that's mad.
I don't know what weather app to use now, because Dark Sky was perfect and Apple fucking killed it. And I thought they would bring all the Dark Sky features into their, official iOS weather app or whatever built in.
We talk about this every week.
And
I don't think so.
It's just annoying because it doesn't seem to, it takes 10, 15 seconds to come up with the temperature when I open the app. It's so annoying. God damn it. All I need to know is, I'm literally sitting there waiting, do I need to bring the umbrella or not? Waiting for this thing to respond. Especially if it's on my watch when you have to hold your wrist up or whatever. And it's like, come on, damn it. Useless.
Yeah, as I say, I think I'm pretty sure I have said this before, but the Weather Channel source that powers the Samsung app usually actually pretty good.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. All I need is the temperature bar and the chance of rain, and I'm good.
How's your Microsoft presumably Bing bar on the PC?
Oh, I've never bloody used this. I should probably turn this off. The fact that the 19 degrees mostly cloudy, then you hover over it and it gives you the crappy news tiles that are nonsense.
MSN, is it?
Well, I don't even know. Whatever. Yeah, I guess it's MSN or whatever. I suppose it's Bing News now or something like that. Man, do you want to know about the German Olympic chiefs that back a campaign to get Sharon Davis gold medal, whoever that is, or whatever that is? Anyway, it's Bing News.
Wasn't really interested about that.
To avoid the advertising that's in the operating system, in Windows. Can you turn it off? Or?
Well, I don't know. I'm still a Windows 10 user, and apparently that's not so bad there. And 11 has a few of the sneaky you should probably do this, and the less sneaky ones. Yeah, I agree. The Microsoft shouldn't be advertising in. I know it's their right to. It's their OS, and everyone kind of does it to some degree, but it's getting a bit egregious now.
I don't think I've got any of that in my Mac OS or whatever.
It's like when Dropbox constantly so I'm at that level in my Dropbox account where I've actually got a couple of gigs spare still, but it's 13 out of the free 15 or something.
And it's nudging you to get the pro.
It constantly emails you every week or something to say, "Oh, you're gonna lose your content. You're gonna stop. Things are gonna stop working." And I'm like, "No, they're not. It's fine. It's gonna remain working because I know how much space I'm using. Shut up."
Yeah.
I've been being very annoyed by Photoshop adverts on YouTube this week.
Photoshop?
Yep, they're just advertising Photoshop.
Huh.
Why do you think they're targeting you with that?
I don't know. Well, I mean, technically they're not targeting me because I don't have personalized ads turned on my Google account.
Oh, so it's
generic ads.
But obviously that's a super expensive, powerful program that's very well known. But it's still quite niche. How many people actually need a Creative Cloud license, for the world?
That's sort of the problem, isn't it? That's definitely the problem with Photoshop now. There's no in. You have to go all in. There's no light way to Photoshop anymore. The light way to Photoshop is to use something else, like GIMP, and that's a night. Well, GIMP is a powerful bit of software, but it's a nightmare to actually use.
Yeah. It's not easy to use, is it? No. I don't know why there isn't some mid-weight, easy to use photo manipulation software.
I guess that's Coral, right? Coral is still about.
How does that still exist, Coral? Yeah. So what did happen to our beloved PaintShop Pro? Did that get bought into Coral?
Yeah, Coral. Well, Coral bought out. What was it? Jask? Was that the company behind it? Something like that. Yeah, Coral bought them, and they ran it for a while as Coral Paint Shop Pro, alongside Coral Draw, and the other. So the two coexisted for a while, and then they brought them together. And I don't actually have no idea what the suite is like these days, and if there's a do-it-all paint package and photo manipulation package like Photoshop is. Photoshop's kind of a do-everything, as long as it's not precise publication design or vector graphics app. That's what Photoshop is for. But
it's funny it doesn't have any obvious rivals, Photoshop, for its core. Even commercial rivals.
It's funny because they pay. I think about the video editing space, and there's always been rivals in that space, right? That have been, Final Cut may not be such of a thing anymore, but Premiere versus DaVinci is now the current fight, right? And it's
sure, and Final Cut is still a thing, and it's not completely gone.
But it's just not as prominent as it once was. There was a period. There was a period where Final Cut was the thing.
Was the thing, yeah. Yeah,
basically because of the power of the platform, right? Because it had dedicated Mac hardware essentially for it, and it's
that's all over. Yeah,
but no longer a thing. But it's good, and DaVinci Free serves us pretty well.
Yeah, it's strange.
Loads of people still use Sony Vegas, right? Is it not Sony Vegas? Someone Vegas. Is it Avid? I can't remember. That thing still exists as well.
I don't suppose you care about the design software used for digital products, because obviously that has changed since I've been working in this. I've been using obviously the same language and everything. I guess now I'm using TypeScript, so it's slightly different, but whatever. It's effectively the same tool. I use VS Code instead of Sublime Text, but it's basically the same thing. So it started, but the designers have gone through 3 totally different tools. When I started, a lot of them were using Photoshop to make, and InDesign and stuff like that to make, but they were using Photoshop to make designs for apps and websites.
Right. Yeah.
And then it went to Sketch. Everyone used Sketch. Now everyone uses Figma. And I think Adobe got so freaked out by Figma that they bought it for some hilarious price.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't remember what's the.
It was a high number. Yeah.
$20 billion.
Billion?
Billion with
what?
a B.
Oh, okay, that's insane.
Yeah, completely insane. But last week Figma finally launched a dev mode, so you can turn it on, and because as it was, because it's design software, and when you go in to look at the designs, you're like, oh, I don't want to touch anything because it's going to move, and because it's all web based, and you move something, it moves for everyone, right? If you've got access,
sure.
So you're like, oh, but now it has a proper full blown inspect mode where you go into that mode, and now you're just looking at it the elements as if you were looking at them kind of on a web page, and it gives you code snippets and stuff. It tells you the dimensions and how far between things without accidentally moving things or anything like that, which is a lot better.
Yeah, I guess that's useful if you're actually going to convert from Figma to the thing and then have that actually be your thing. I've only used it for prototyping.
If you can use it for prototyping all the way through to final design, I suppose that's the thing.
And even then we do it. I've only ever used those tools as very high level prototyping, right? Once I get the vague idea settled, we just roll with it for in prod. Just do it, and then we could try it.
Do it live.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So it was well, this is the idea. This is how we want it to work. Let's actually just build the first version of this, and then we'll work out if it was a good idea or not there. And that's always kind of worked out, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the resources to do it in code, often it's cheaper to revise designs in sort of Figma land than actually.
It depends who you've got working on it. If you're competent in your UI tools of choice, then working in WPF true. Land, it's actually sometimes just easier just to mock it up in WPF than it is to even use one of these tools.
Yeah, it can be. But they're trying to blur the lines as much as they can.
Oh, yeah.
So it's quite interesting.
I remember, what was it? Things I think it still exists, but there's a part of the Visual Studio suite called Blend. I think now that might actually just be part of Visual Studio now. But what that used to do. But that tried to do that with technologies like WPF and things like that. So you would use the WYSIWYG editor as your primary thing, but and it would obviously be building real code behind the scenes with everything you did in that.
WYSIWYG, what a dream!
Yeah,
I remember Microsoft front page. That was what we used instead of Dreamweaver for some reason to make happysalads.com.
Because you had a copy, right? Dreamweaver was
I guess so, yeah.
Adobe stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure why I had
didn't manage to download it off the internet at the time.
Well,
as was the plan in that age.
Oh, yeah. That would have been a hefty download at the time, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
We were on a 56k modem.
Probably would have ran just fine these days, but like then that would have been, they weren't great.
I think we basically did do, it was terrible, but I think we basically did do Happy Salad WYSIWYG, right? I don't remember all that much hacking on the HTML.
I don't know.
It was a bit better than, I think I definitely did my first website, WYSIWYG, like Dan's Star Wars Lego.
Yes.
I think we might have just written most of the original Happy Salad in just raw HTML.
Yeah.
Like not even CSS to that much, just to change a color here and there.
The fancy music page for your music had like frames. I remember it had frames, which is a dumb idea.
Yeah,
but
and some kind of Flash player, right, to play the XMs or something.
Yeah, like a Flash mod player. Yeah. Was it Flash? Yeah,
something like that. Because I don't think the tech existed to do that outside of Flash.
Of course not. Who could play out?
No, did we use Vitalize?
No, it might have been a Vitalize.
No, there was a special plugin, I think, just for the XMs. I think, or maybe it was. Yeah, I think so. I
don't know if we wrote a little Vitalize game.
I feel like it might have been a Vitalize. Because I think I might have ended up with your, GAM file for that.
Oh, right.
The player, right.
Maybe that wasn't the one that ended up on the website. Maybe that was a different attempt at that.
Yeah.
Standardization is good sometimes.
Make everything in Games Factory.
Yeah, make everything in Games Factory. Yeah. I was at a school reunion yesterday, and the subject of the games we used to make and install on various computers around the school came up.
I see.
Came up.
How many of them are still there?
Well, not because none of those computers are still there.
You think?
That's the first thing Laura said, isn't it? When she came on our podcast, the first thing she said was, "Your games were all over all of the computers at that school."
No, I got a tour around the school, and so none of those machines are there, as far as I can tell. So which makes sense. It was 20 bloody years ago.
I mean, when we were there were BBC Micros from the 80s, like there.
Oh yeah. There were still some of those in the physics department.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah, so that came up, and how it was near on impossible to run them all. And then, of course, we started talking about Scorched Earth, because that obviously the mother of all games. This is a podcast about video games.
Including Scorched Earth.
Including Scorched Earth. What a game. Yeah, we lost far too much time on that. And then the classic tale of how myself and Jay Business weren't signed up for any. They just left us off the games lists for a few terms, and so we spent the afternoons playing NHL instead on my laptop.
It's like a sport.
Yeah.
They just missed you off assigning you to.
Well, we weren't there. I think
games.
neither of us were there on the day that they were doing the sign-ups, right? Where you get to pick what you wanted to, and we just fell through the cracks. No one noticed that we weren't on any list, so it was just, well, I guess we're not doing anything.
You don't point it out and no one sees you.
I guess we're not doing anything. Nobody seemed to care. It was pretty cool.
Where did you hang out and play NHL? You just
we just did that in the sixth form center. We just sat there with my laptop out. So we were never questioned. Good times.
Good times.
Everything in Games Factory. Should probably go back and revisit our Games Factory stuff, and our what do you call it? Multimedia fusion stuff. Now that Windows emulation has come on,
right? See if you can get it to run.
I think we can get the sounds to work.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If you can, if instead of trying to run it in a VM environment, which is problematic, Try and run it in a proper emulation environment and see if we get good enough results.
See if we can get UK You Don't Know Jack to work correctly.
Exactly. Yeah. UK version. Yeah, because that does run in a VM, but it has timing issues.
Yeah, which is a problem in that game.
Yeah, it's very much a problem. Good times.
Yeah, we never got as far as doing the multimedia fusion stuff, although we'd never had that much.
No,
it was too ambitious by that point.
It was a bunch of prototypes and weird concepts. Yeah. Sometimes literally. Yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes literally.
I had my little tank game, which had like one level. And
that was probably the most game out of anything we ever made in Multimedia Fusion.
Really? Well, I don't know. I mean, Metabreed Pure, obviously.
Okay.
That was pretty much finished.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of all of our games, like if you're going to remake one today with like Unity, it'd probably be Metabreed, wouldn't it?
I mean, yeah, to learn the environment, yes, I would definitely start with Metabreed.
Yeah,
that's not really a function of what type of game it is, but like Rob already knows how he made that game in the past, and therefore it would be a useful thing to learn.
Exactly, yeah, just to recreate it, like that would be a good thing. I mean, like going back, if you were to take on a project like Metabreed or any of our projects, really, we would have to go back and like seriously consider what makes them a game.
Well, that was always the problem with our games.
Because Metabreed has the problem where the mechanics don't quite work, right? It always did. Like the whole sort of time to pack thing didn't quite sit right, did it? Like there was a balance problem there that we didn't quite understand how to fix.
I'm sure.
Make it so the power-ups are like random, like you get.
Or you have to unlock them through some sort of like.
Or like it's like you build up the run over the course of the time. Like so, at a certain point, you get to choose like a power-up that modifies the physics of the game or something, and you have to stack them and combine them to make it.
I mean, I was just trying to think, like, how would that work? Like, you'd have to crawl. Okay, for those that aren't aware, go watch our like collision software videos on the website and look at and try and find Metabreed on it. It's basically like Breakout, but you bounce Pac-Man or packs,
non-copyrighted pack objects.
Exactly, Euroman, he was called in the Games Factory library.
Yep.
On a pipe with gravity. You know, so it's not quite Breakout, but you know, you're still moving a paddle left and right, whatever. And there's breeding of packs anyway. Yeah, so the only thing I think of is that, like, you could turn it, if you were to turn it into a roguelike, that's probably not a bad idea, but it'd be like which is basically what Breakout was in a way, I guess. But like each room would be like randomized layout, and you'd have to do something in that room for the doors to open, some kind of like bouncing and breeding challenge or something, and you'd have to figure out mechanics for how that could actually hurt you or help you and all stuff like that. Or what just end conditions would be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe there's enemies you have to like bounce stuff into. I don't know.
Maybe
we should just make a pinball roguelike.
And maybe you could bring in some of the shatter stuff, like the suction, so you can control the packs a bit more.
Yeah.
Suck them into you.
That was definitely something that needed some level of control to try and avoid the situations where the packs are bouncing too low, and although we could probably code solutions.
That was also a physics coding problem.
Yeah, we weren't quite good enough in game.
Well, arguably, whether that was our fault or Games Factory's fault,
it would have been difficult to. It probably would have been quite hard to get to sort that out. And like collision detection of things passing through things and stuff like that. That was actually quite tricky to manage in that environment. But yeah, I'd probably do that. I'd go back to Metabreed. Or keep it even simpler and just go back to Glacial Spoon Racer.
Yes, obviously.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, without all the constraints of the Games Factory, you could definitely make that a lot smoother.
Yeah, you could probably do that first just to get your feet wet, because there isn't much game there, but it's great, right? It's one of those, right? It's really, it's super tiny, but quite fun for the short amount of time you play at it. And
sure,
and then move on to something more ambitious.
Maybe that would work as a phone game because of the aspect ratio and like
you'd be able to see more.
Right?
What? Just Wi-Fi up to nearby competitors and
yeah.
Banzai.
Anyway, starting to get a little too serious. This. What game are we going to make? No.
I mean, it's been 20 years of a thought process for me. Like.
If you were to one afternoon break out free copy of Unity or whatever it would be.
Yeah. I mean, you can start learning in Unreal now. Like you don't have to pay up front to learn Unreal like you used to. I think like you can just grab the tools and go. Hell, we could probably build this in Fortnite now.
Inside,
right? Yeah,
because of Unreal for Fortnite, but
yeah. What's the scripting languages? Isn't it easier? Isn't Unity just C# or whatever and just easy?
Yeah, I think with any of the languages you can use whatever you want, right? It's with any of the engines. Like Unity,
not that it matters.
Yeah, Unity used to run on mono game, so it's probably some .NET equivalent or some project like that. It's probably shifted to Maui, or it's probably been Xamarin at some point. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do it. You can do it all in .NET. That's fine. I think you can do the same thing with Unreal, but then it's probably a heavily even if you were working in C++ land to work with Unreal, it's probably I would say quite macroed and quite assisted. So the syntax is probably not as bad as working C# C++ to the metal, but you could if you wanted.
I think with Metabreed, you'd have to, if you wanted to fancy it up, it would be like you could do something like Tetris Effect, where it was the same game, but all the fucking crazy background and visuals go. Totally
maybe
different styles, and different musics and things.
Yeah, some kind of rhythm pack bouncing.
I think that was one of the ideas we had at some point, right?
Or what, to make everything shift in beat? Or...
Yeah, to make it more timed. Like the bounces always happen at a certain point. That'd be complicated. But it might be interesting, because then you'd be like...
The problem would be when multiple packs fall in different spots, right? Like how you'd...
but that would be part of the game, right? Because you'd somehow be able to control them. Like maybe that'd be part of the roguelike power-up. So it's like, if there's one going off to the side, you can divert it back into you or something. On the beat. So they all hit the paddle at the same time. Boom!
Yeah. Well, that's just an action you have to do. Like there's a click or something.
The super bounce.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of the push and pull of the mechanics. Like you can only do that so often, and you just have to like sacrifice at times. Like
you can see where they're going to land. You have to choose the best selection.
Which in fairness was a part of the game anyway, right?
Well,
like it was impossible to catch
at a certain point. Yes.
Yeah, it was impossible to catch everything
in the mid game of Metabreed.
Yeah,
before it went totally nuts and.
The screen just filled with packs, and then things tended to go wrong because breeds would happen. The frame rate would drop to a crawl, and so like many things would happen between frames, and so it would give it more work to do, and it just went wrong. And it was great. It was a beautiful mess. I'm not saying it had any more style than any of the other games I made, though. It was still a horrible
they were all
disaster.
Exactly the same. They were all Rob style.
Yeah.
That was.
I had no taste.
But what would it... I mean, I don't even know what Rob style would look like now. I know what it would sound like.
I don't know what it would look like if I was to try and actually put some thought into graphical design now. Probably an AI-created nightmare.
God.
Like, because what would we even bounce? We couldn't use packs, right? We'd have to come up with something else.
I mean, you could use...
Would it just be vegetables, right? It would be the happy salad, like.
Maybe. But then, how would they breed?
Like
what about the colours?
Oh, you can make that work.
Turn them into actual peacocks.
Yes.
Yeah. They're just balls, but they have like feathers and tails and stuff. They have feathers on a peacock.
No, that's really funny because
open up.
That's actually great because then you could do like different flight mechanics based like later in different levels, right?
The Angry Bird combo.
Yeah, they could start changing because they're different animals or something. Or that's a really great idea. Don't steal it, internet, or at least do and involve us in the development process and give us some money. Yeah, that's also good. We'll consult. You can have. I will sell, or I'm willing to license out the rights to Metabreed Meta Bird, I guess.
Meta Breed, the totally original game that was not based on another game on the VK or anything.
Not at all. No, not at all.
Anyway.
I mean, that other game didn't have breeding,
games.
So, it's totally original.
yeah.
Well, that's all you have to do. And it's like in the video game world, you just have to add a new mechanic and then you're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stack a new mechanic on top of the old mechanics and then it's a new game.
Yeah. It's like X, but with Y.
It wasn't at all based on a game that shares half the name.
And now shares the name with one of the most biggest and most annoying companies.
Oh, yeah. So it does. We'd have to totally change the name.
Yeah. you wouldn't be able to get away with that half of it.
Yeah, I don't think that we could copyright Meta Breed at this point with Zuckerberg on the list. He'd be like, but that's just Facebook.
But like, you can't. Meta is a prefix. You can't like.
I'm only joking.
Yeah,
maybe.
You can't do that, surely.
I'm only joking.
As long as it's not called Sky anything.
Or Saga, right?
Yeah, or Saga.
I mean, they didn't get that off the ground. Video game pipe dreams. If only I didn't have to have a serious career. How did I? Or, had money where I could just say, I'm just going to work on this for 2 years instead of business.
That would be so weird.
So stressful, right? I can't. I have so much respect for people that start their own businesses and go down that path, and that's
it's crazy.
It is crazy, but it's great.
And they do it. Yeah.
I just don't. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal.
No, I don't think it's for me. Having obviously been in smaller businesses and seen other people doing it.
Yeah, and seeing them fail.
Yeah, just doesn't look like my jam.
No.
I mean, I still think if I had a good enough idea, then maybe I would do it. No, I never have that I was that confident in. But even if you have the world's best idea, you could still fuck it up quite easily, I think.
Oh, yeah. I remember... what was that game called? It was a Namco tank game, arcade game. Was it like Tokyo Wars or something? Where it was just
probably.
It was like it was an arcade game where you sat in like a tank cockpit and the whole thing went fadoosh when you fired things, and it was just go around a city and destroy these other tanks. And, but the whole thing was put it in 2-player mode and shoot each other.
Yeah.
We always used to me and my mate Ruben. We always used to talk about. What if this could just be done why can't it just all be fully destructible? Because obviously we didn't understand how 3D worked when we were kids and in the limitations of polygons and all that. It's you could just break it up into we could just model every brick, right, and then have the entire city blow apart, and it'll be rad as fuck. And
now you can.
And now you probably could, yeah.
Maybe not in an arcade cabinet still, but
maybe. Well, it'd just be like any other machine these days, aren't they? Arcade cabs. They're just PCs.
Stick a PC in there, yeah.
As long as you get hold of an RTX 4090 and you can drive as many bricks as you want.
But that probably would have actually made the gameplay better, is the thing.
No.
Because it's all about line of sight,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
If you just blow through every building. That was the Battlefield problem, really, wasn't it? Well, as soon as they went into Battlefield 3 and 4 when you had destructible buildings
could go. Yeah.
And it was just this sucks now because there's no cover any longer.
Yeah. And they would all get destroyed as soon as the tank turned up. It would be well, none of these buildings are useful now.
Yeah. It's as soon as the tank turns up, you just know you had to leave the building because it was inevitably just going to shoot the building
collapse on you, yeah.
Because it knew you were in there.
Which is kind of cool. It's cool in concept. It's just somehow doesn't quite work in gameplay, right? It's it's one of those things where it's yeah, of course we'd do that, and then it's then you actually do it, and it's
Because in reality, if you blow a building down, you could actually create quite a lot of cover from the wreckage. It's quite
sure. It depends how it made. If it made an awkward lump for the tank as well, rather than just busting through a wall, You still want that moment, right? The thing about a tank game is you kind of want a blend of the two, right? You want that moment where you can just bust through a wall and be yeehaw, and get the drop on someone.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you want to be the Kool-Aid man for sure.
It's true.
I'm the Juggernaut.
Maybe that.
Is that Vinnie Jones?
Yeah.
In what was that?
It was
X-Men 3?
Well, yeah,
Three?
Was it 3? Yeah, it must have been 3. Yeah. Don't know if he was in more of those.
So dumb.
I don't know Vinnie Jones.
Yeah, I was thinking about him the other day because I was like leaving a project and I was like, it's been emotional. I say the words of Vinnie Jones. It's been emotional. But they only knew Vinnie Jones as a footballer for some reason,
right?
Which is even more. Like,
yeah, that's pretty weird at this point, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking of watching Mean Machine again the other day. Love that film. It's real stupid, but he's good in it.
What's the premise of Mean Machine?
It's prison inmates
football.
playing football. Yeah.
Right. It makes sense. Perfect for Vinnie Jones.
Yeah. It's a good film.
He basically did that bit in the Premier League, right? Or was it? Or maybe it was the division.
That's why he was cast in that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually need someone who can football to some extent.
And football evil.
Yeah.
Evil football.
Football with massive eyebrows, like angry eyebrows. That's what you need. I like Vinnie Jones. Come back. If there was a Vinnie Jones versus Jason Statham, I'd watch that.
I feel like that's almost certainly already happened.
Why? He should be in Fast and Furious, shouldn't he, Vinnie Jones, for sure?
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
That also feels like it's already happened, but it obviously hasn't. That one, is much easier to confirm.
Also, Vinny's probably pretty old at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I think all of them are pretty old at this point, though.
Well, that's true.
Let's find out. Oh, he's 58. Wow.
Yeah, the Stafe is probably aging though. Like, is that why there's less Vin Diesel when they're sort of focusing a bit more on Stafe and The Rock?
Yeah, who's the up and coming replacements for these guys?
I don't know. I don't know that there is an action star right at the moment.
No.
Yeah, they're like pretty boys. Like the big star of Dune is like Timothée Chalamet or whatever.
Yeah, he doesn't count.
Yeah. We need a big.
I mean, there isn't even like a Matt
guy.
Damon or a Ben Affleck type about, is there? Really, at the moment, there's not coming up. I suppose the guy that plays Shang-Chi, right? He's cool.
But he's awesome. Yeah,
but he's probably not going to fill that niche
because it was so stupid. They were trying to make Tom Holland into like freaking Nathan Drake or whatever, and it's like
who was young Nathan Drake?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I like Tom Holland, but he's not like a. I don't know. It's not like
it's not Nathan Fillion.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah. What was he in? Oh, he was in Guardians 3.
Tom Holland. Oh, what, as Spider-Man? No,
Nathan Fillion.
Oh, was he? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched that yet, but yeah, I'll wait for Disney at this point. But
yeah, it was good.
Can't be far before it comes out on Disney. They're getting quicker and quicker, these like cinema to streaming time frames.
Oh God, it's ridiculous. I went to see the Wes Anderson film this week, and they're already trying to put it into the streaming.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, and it's doing really well, I think, in the cinema. So I don't know why they want to ruin it. Asteroid City. Is it?
Yeah.
If you like Wes Anderson, it's very Wes Anderson, but it's a good one. It's a good one. I liked it better than French Dispatch.
Yeah,
for sure. Although.
I like French Dispatch, but it wasn't pushing the same. It wasn't pushing what I'm after from a Wes Anderson. I don't know why. It just wasn't quite.
Well, I don't really like. I agree with my brother was saying the same. Like, I don't really like the anthology format as much.
Yeah,
and this is a, one setting thing, and it's cool because they built the town or whatever, like the little town or whatever, is like a giant set, and it's quite obviously done all practically with miniatures and everything. And yeah, it's cool and good atmosphere. And Scarlett Johansson is very good in it. But it's an all-star cast. It's the usual Wes Anderson thing.
Sure.
Jason Schwartzman.
Classic.
He should do
another animated film.
He probably will. He's done a couple.
And they're both fantastic. Like,
yeah. Yeah. What was the last one? Isle of Dogs. The last one. Yeah.
I love that.
I think he apparently he made that because the Fantastic Mr. Fox animation studio was in London and he kept driving past a sign to the Isle of Dogs or whatever.
No.
And he was like, that's weird. Why is there an Isle of Dogs? Yeah.
If he does a follow-up about an Isle of Cats, then we'll be good. He'll have foxes and dogs and cats, oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my. I started watching that there. I'm one episode into Hawkeye. We started that.
What? That's Christmas.
I know, but whatever.
We
ran out of programs to watch, and we were just like, well, I guess this is next on the Marvel docket. We'll just start this.
Okay. I would probably not.
No one was in a non-committal mood, and it's just like, well, let's just put something on. And it's like, okay, let's just start this then.
I mean, it's pretty super duper Christmassy, but okay,
it's fine. It's not been a problem.
Okay, cool. I guess
at least not in that first episode. It's not a problem. I don't care. It might make me feel cooler in this hot weather.
Just pretend it's December weed.
Yeah, exactly.
Christmas in July.
December weed.
Okay, so you're watching that. I can't be bothered to watch. I need to cancel the Disney. And there's always one thing on every subscription service that you want to, like, I would cancel Disney Plus because I no longer care about the Marvel or even the Star Wars stuff at the moment. But there's going to be a new series.
Just cancel out for a month or two and then come straight back as soon as another Star Wars thing launches.
Oh.
Because there's always something, right? There's always something.
Yeah, well, I want the new season of The Bear because The Bear was amazing.
Right. Yeah. I've heard people talk about this. I want to give that a shot, actually.
Oh, it's really good, and they're only half-hour episodes, so it's not like a big commitment. But yeah, it's fantastic. And there's one season of it, and it's on Disney Plus if you have that. But it's out now. I'm sure the second season.
It is.
But like for some reason,
it's out in America. It's not made. It's not made it to the UK yet.
It's like 19th of July or something. So I have to wait like 3 weeks or something for it to come to Disney Plus. But anyway, so anyway, but yeah, definitely check out The Bear. It's the most Chicago thing I've ever seen.
I've got so many shows I want to catch up on. Like I'd quite like to watch The Witcher.
I thought you said you run out and you're watching.
No, we ran out of the stuff we were in the middle of watching, and the problem is I have a lot of shows that I want to watch that I don't think I stand a chance in hell of getting Gnome to watch with me. Things like Alice in Borderland season 2, things like that, because I like that first season. I'd quite like to start watching another. I think it's All of Us Are Dead, which is like it's a zombie series, but it looks kind of funny. It's Asian in a school, as you might expect. Like every like Asian show is in a school. Yeah, looks decent. Yeah, The Witcher would be good. Vinland Saga season 2. Want to watch that? Got so much stuff. I'm working on Agretsuko season 5 as well. I actually started watching some of that. That's good. That continues to be good. I like that. I like that show. Office Politics Anime, go.
Oh yeah.
With a bit of death metal thrown in. What's not to love?
Who doesn't love a splash of death metal?
Yeah, just a splash.
Just a bit of deathcore.
Yeah. News!
Yeah, video game news. What go on?
Well, go on. Nintendo did a direct thing.
Nintendo did their not quite E3.
E3.
They gave everyone 24 hours notice that they were doing a thing again.
Well, I mean, Nintendo did what Nintendo always do and have done even while E3 still existed. Yeah, so it's not really surprising.
They were just like, oh, by the way, we're doing a thing tomorrow. And everyone's like, sorry, what?
I don't think people were sorry what. I think they were like, oh yeah, that's what Nintendo does.
Yeah, okay,
like at this point, I think we've worked that out.
Yeah, they've done that the last few times. They don't really pre-announce when they're putting a video out. Not anymore. Yeah, so I picked out some highlights. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I think there were a couple of farm games on the show, so
at least one that they've already shown twice before at this point.
Yeah,
and maybe on another platform as well.
Yes, but yeah, at least I went like 7 or 8 this time. That was nice. Detective Pikachu is getting a sequel.
So I played the first one.
I still haven't played the first one. No, I've actually been trying to get hold of a copy of it, but actually it's more expensive than I expected. Like,
oh no!
it's one of those. Like I think it's like a it even didn't sell very well or something like that.
Probably.
And so it isn't actually all that, or it's just like covered in Pokemon tags. I don't know, and so like still actually sought after. Yeah. I'm gonna. It's just called Detective Pikachu Returns.
Well, is that a working title? Maybe.
I mean, maybe, but it's out pretty soon, so I imagine that's the actual title. It's out October 6th this year. I think that's a real bad trailer.
What were you expecting?
Well, like if you're going to set up a detective story, normally a trailer for that will at least hint at what the mystery is. Like there's a murder or something.
Well, Mewtwo shows up for a minute, right? And then it's like you need to do a thing.
There's no crime in this detective trailer. Like all it is basically Mewtwo turns up and it's just Pikachu complaining about coffee. Like that is all it is. And yes, that is his one character trait.
And that's what you want.
Coffee.
Is that he drinks? That is his only thing.
He says it like 3 times.
Yeah, he does.
You don't even need to say it once. You just need to show it.
Yeah.
Right,
he just sips it and goes, "That's bitter," or something at one point.
It's coffee. Or does he say, "It's a light roast today"? Or something
yeah.
Like that? Yeah.
A light roast. Ooh. I mean, that's fine if there's like a key plot point that centers around like.
I don't think there's gonna be.
No, I think you're right. I think it's just. I don't know, man. I do still want to play that first game because it is fascinating that this exists, and it's even more fascinating they decided to go back to it. It's crazy.
Well, is it? I mean, they made that film. Was there any influence of that on this?
I mean, I reckon so, because that film was pretty popular.
Yeah. But even though we hadn't played the game, we knew that the film was not like the game in several key ways.
Yes.
And it's still not, right? I mean,
the game is now a sequel to the game, not a sequel to the movie.
Although isn't there like a sequel to the movie in the works as well?
Probably. Why not?
I wish they're going to have to like explain a whole bunch of stuff.
Or not,
yeah. Anyway, that's coming, and it's coming pretty soon. I like that Nintendo don't like. I like it when Nintendo don't like super reveal something super early. Metroid Prime 4. Like I like it when it's just like, here's the thing, and it's coming out in a couple months. Get excited. I love that.
Well, A, that's what they do for the small things that they don't care about, and B, it's technically the Pokemon company, not really Nintendo.
Sure. But I guess they've got co-marketing on these games, and there's still some business agreement that these games can't come out anywhere else.
Well,
yeah. Detective Pikachu. It's probably not going to be as good as Professor Layton. They're remaking Super Mario RPG.
Because fucking everyone has been asking for this forever.
Well, yeah, pretty much like since Paper Mario, right? Like
anyone who knows what it is. Yeah.
But, it was stuck in Square Enix hell, as it turns out.
Of course, yeah. I forgot they were involved in that.
Yes, that's why it hasn't been remade this whole entire time, which is why it's actually surprising that it has finally been remade. Or maybe not. Maybe Square just want to make some money out of an ancient IP that they're clinging onto.
Probably, yeah. Nintendo are just like, we'll make this and we'll give you... They had to just... I guess they just had to sort out, like, if we do this and we just pay you some money to some degree,
for the rights to the characters that you made, but that are technically in the Mario universe now.
I bet Square will probably actually... Yeah, that's fine.
Probably.
Just as long as you make it, we don't want to make it. It's probably one of those situations.
So now everyone who wanted Gino in Smash is going to be even more disappointed because now you can see what he would have looked like.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's also like doubly interesting that this is basically like it's a remake, but it's kind of like a Link's Awakening kind of deal, right? Where it's the same game but re-skinned, like with like 3D, like even the camera angles are the same, the gameplay is the same. It's just all of the graphics have been reworked from the ground up, and it's but the game is identical. Which is, well, I imagine there's a few differences here and there.
Yeah, I'm sure they've cleaned up a few annoying bits or whatever.
There's probably some quality of life stuff here and there. But it's interesting that they're taking that approach with it. 2024, so not out this year, but I think they said it was early next year. So we got that. Luigi's Mansion 2, or Dark Moon, as I guess its a proper title is. Was that DS or that was 3DS? 3DS exclusive. That makes sense to get redone. Like Luigi's Mansion 3 did pretty well, right, on Switch, and so
I guess, but like, it's like a matter of, are they going to? Is it going to be a case of like the Luigi's Mansion 3 controls, but the Luigi's Mansion 2 the game?
Right.
Or is it going to be more like a direct port from the 3DS?
Yeah, good question. Have they brought Luigi's Mansion 1 to the Switch? Did they?
They released that on something else.
Yeah, I want to say they redid that
relatively recently
at some point.
I think that might have been for the 3DS as well, right?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, you might be right actually. Like as part of their revisiting, like in 3D that they did for, or with stereoscopic 3D that they did for the 3DS. I don't know. I think that's sensible. They should probably do
fine,
that.
I guess.
Yeah, they should probably do that. I don't know. That footage they showed looked a little ropey, like it wasn't running at a good frame rate and things like that, which is slightly strange if they've just taken the 3DS version and chucked it on the Switch, and it's like, this should run pretty well, right?
You would hope.
So yeah, that didn't look so great, but they've got time. It's 2024 as well. I think I just noted Dragon Quest Monsters because it's a 2023 game. I got nothing really to add to it. It's another RPG where you build a party out of monsters. So it's not
in the Dragon Quest universe.
Yeah, I think I just noted it because it's a 2023 game in case I'm interested in it for the Fantasy League. Pikmin 4. We got to see a bit more of this. Zach is our resident Pikminist. Pikminer. Pikminster.
Pikminister.
Tell us your thoughts. Like, how's this looking?
Well, I mean, I guess we could have talked about this later because a demo came out.
Oh, did it?
And therefore, I have played it.
That's fine. Do it now.
Well, the main thing for me is that like it plays like old Pikmin. They got rid of the motion controls from Pikmin 3. Thank God.
What, completely? So
there are still motion controls, but not in the same way. Like in Pikmin 3, it was like because it was the version of Pikmin 3 I played on the Switch was the ported version, which then like tried to port the more direct motion controls of the Wii U version. So it's like it's still technically the same motion controls, but it's like toned down, I guess.
Okay.
But then in this one, it's like, no, we're just going to. It's got a little bit of the Zelda like slight aiming on the motion controls, but otherwise it's like you've got your line with the targeting cursor in front of you, and it follows you as you move around, and the standard Pikmin stuff.
That's kind of nice. Like with like a C stick equivalent to like push Pikmin around.
Well, okay. So what it does is like it still has the camera controls on the right stick. So you've got the left stick to move, and your cursor sits in front of you, and then it follows you as it rotates the camera. And you still have left trigger to like center your view behind you, like in the old Pikmin. Yeah. But then because you've got right stick camera control, that's just always there, so you don't command the Pikmin with that. But they've kept from Pikmin 3, they've kept the idea of like you get upgrades that enable certain special abilities, like the charge attack where they all rush. You can unlock that, and then I don't think you get it in the demo, but there's the ability to like manipulate the group, but I don't know how that's then going to work with the controls.
Okay,
presumably it will be like you have to toggle into that mode, and then maybe then the right stick changes from camera control to Pikmin command, maybe, or it might be a hold and release type thing on the left stick, possibly, so you won't be able to move while you're doing it.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't actually look at I only saw it because it's in like the control tutorials help page where it was like, it tells you that you're going to get this item where you can do this thing.
But you don't get to do that in the demo.
Well, or maybe you could do it in the demo, because the demo is kind of weird because it it stops after you get a certain amount of the resource you're trying to get, which is basically the treasures. But like, you don't necessarily have to do that, so you kind of have free reign on this entire first level, at least.
Okay, at least to see if, well, unless there's like some roadblocks, like something you have to craft or make out of the resources that stops you from getting too far through it. Or...
Yeah, because the first thing that you get the resources for is basically upgrade your radar to reveal more locations to land at. Okay. So you're only going to be able to access this first level, but it is the whole level, and there's like multiple of the cave things, like from Pikmin 2 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you can mess around in there for quite a while, depending on if you can resist accidentally claiming all this treasure.
Yeah, sure.
Train yourself not to get the treasure.
Yeah, difficult.
But yeah, and then it's also like it's still got the same, like it still runs on the day-night cycle, so you still have that kind of time limit, and then the underground, like the time turns off while you're down there. So as long as you
like Pikmin 2,
like Pikmin 2, and then it also. So far, I'm not sure whether this will continue to be the case through the whole game, but there doesn't appear to be like an overarching time pressure. So there's no like
not like 1,
and not like 3, which had like the food rations thing where you had to constantly pick up the treasure, which was food in that game, and then that was your rations. So you had to keep up a certain pace of.
Oh wow! So was there a lose condition in 3?
I don't know if there was or not. So I didn't see that system far enough. But yeah, it did have that kind of time pressure. So yeah,
because I definitely hit the lose condition in Pikmin 1, and that was kind of annoying.
Well, yeah, and it was just like a literal time limit. Like there was just a hard cutoff after 30 days, regardless of what you did.
Yeah, I think in my Pikmin 1 playthrough, I got to a point where I just realised it's not possible for me to finish this in time. Or at least it didn't feel like it, so it was like, that's annoying.
But yeah, apart from that, it plays a lot more like Pikmin 1 and 2. I'm way more enthusiastic about it. It still does have a few annoyances of like, you know, because they've got all these different abilities and whatnot. You're still having to like access sub menus and radial wheels and stuff to trigger certain things to happen, and there's a few things
just because it's like a little RTS-y, isn't it? In nature to some degree.
I mean,
it's always going to be a little tricky.
I think this is the same in 3, but it has I think I even called this out as a problem in 3, where dismissing Pikmin is like a sub menu rather than just holding the whistle button, which is kind of annoying.
Oh, why is that used for something else? The equivalent of holding the whistle.
Well, it's because holding the whistle opens the sub-menu, which has dismiss Pikmin, but then has other things as well.
Right. Other things, right, okay.
It's got more complicated.
You can't just one-tap it. But yeah, and then, like, you know, there's some smaller quality of life adjustments, like when there's idle Pikmin around, you can pick them back up into your group by just, like, walking past them. Rather than like the old games, you practically had to touch them for it to actually do that or whistle. But now you can just like, there's a zone around you where if you just walk near them, it just picks them up, which is nice. And then you got that dog thing.
Yeah.
Dog abilities.
Is that in the demo?
Yeah, you get it immediately.
Is his name Uchi or something?
Ochi. But yeah, like, what I didn't realise about it is like literally the other. It's like Pikmin 2, where you have a separate character, essentially. You can control the dog as a separate character, and he can do his own shit.
Oh, I see.
So you can separate the team and have him go off somewhere else. Although there are certain things he can't do. Like, he can't pluck Pikmin. There are, like, certain railings that he can't fit through because he's too fat. But yeah, apart from that, he can still control the Pikmin. And then he has his own special abilities, like when, you know, all the Pikmin ride on him so he can swim.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
And if you use his, well, I guess this isn't specific to when he's by himself, but if you ride on the dog when you're together and you do the charge attack, if you charge attack into an enemy, all the Pikmin that are on you just jump off onto the enemy.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of a nice way to mass attack things.
Oh, that's cool. Does that mean, is there a limit to like how much he can carry? Like, or can do the Pikmin just stack up so you can take a massive army across water or something like that? Or
well, I don't know what the limit will be. Presumably it'll be 100 again because it's always 100. But you start with 20 because it's actually an upgrade now. You find a certain item in the world that increases the number of Pikmin you can have out by 10 each time. And the dog can get upgrades. Although I don't think it's not carrying strength, he has like pulling strength, so he can carry stuff like a Pikmin. Okay. But then you can upgrade that so he counts for like a larger number of Pikmin, essentially. Oh, that was one thing that I did find slightly annoying in terms of like minor unimprovements, I guess.
Unimprovements.
So the improvement half of it is that when your targeting cursor is on something, it has like you can hold left trigger to actually lock on or tap it to like toggle lock on. But then it also has like a soft lock where it like whenever your cursor is near something that you can target, it just
sort of hover to it,
locks onto it. And that's useful for like if you want to carry something, it tells you how many, the number shows up like it always did, tells you how many Pikmin to throw, and then you can just quickly chuck them over there. But the thing that I find slightly annoying is that if you just have your cursor on something and you just mash A to chuck the Pikmin, it tries to help you by stopping you from throwing anymore once you've reached the number. So if this thing requires 10 to throw and you just mash A, once you've thrown 10, it won't let you throw anymore because even if you keep pushing the button, it just pauses, basically.
It goes,
it's like, that's enough. Yeah. But the trouble is that like that... There's this other thing that you may remember from Pikmin where you can, in fact, put twice as many Pikmin on every item as you should, as it tells you to.
And they move faster, right?
Yeah, and it carries it more quickly. But then that helpful thing actually prevents you from doing that. You have to, like, once you've thrown the base number, you then have to, like, move your cursor off it to unlock it from that state and then throw the Pikmin, like, in front of it so it picks them up as it goes past.
Why would they do that? That's weird.
It should just let you throw to the double number.
To the double number, yeah.
Because otherwise, why does that system still exist?
Yeah. They're going to stop you trying to do it. But that's weird.
And also, obviously, you can't just C-stick them onto it like you used to be able to.
Right. Yeah.
You can, once you get the rush ability, I guess you could just rush them onto it. But then you're left over, then you've rushed too many and you're just left with a big pile of idle Pikmin that you don't have to scoop back up or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like some improvements and some slight annoyances, but like I would say I got on with it better than the Pikmin 3 demo. So there's that, and it looks nice, obviously.
Yeah.
It is slightly strange that now this, in Pikmin 1 and 2, as in many Nintendo games, it's secretly post-apocalypse Earth.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But now it just appears to be fucking Earth. Like, you really got that back garden.
But they were travelling between planets, weren't they, on the original Pikmin? But were they all just Earth?
No, they were all Earth. Because in Pikmin 2, you go back to the same planet.
That's right. Okay,
in Pikmin 1, you're just on the planet.
Yes,
right?
you just crash on the planet.
Between various bits of
different areas of the planet.
Yeah.
And then 2, you go back to that same planet. Because you discover that all the shit on there is really expensive.
Oh my god, I was wrong. It was Earth all along.
Yep, it sure was. But yeah, now somehow we've seemed to have unpost-apocalypse, and now we're just literally on Earth. Like
because there's a bit in the trailer where you're just in a house.
Yes, well, the first tutorial level of this demo, which is actually super short, but like is in a living room,
right?
And it's just like a regular living room. It's not like a destroyed living room or anything.
Does it not want you to start rolling a Katamari? That's what I'd be wanting to do.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know what the story implications of that is. Also, spoilers but not spoilers, I guess, because this is something that I've somehow managed to know just from trailers and the demo. In the tutorial level, this living room area, you're playing as Olimar. Except in the like cutscenes that lead up to it, it sort of retcons his story of like how he crashed on the planet because now he has a dog and like different things happened. Except here's the spoiler part: it's probably not actually Oliver.
Right.
It's probably evil Oliver.
It's propaganda. Oh, I see.
It's probably a trap, basically.
It's Walimar.
Probably.
Walimar.
But yes, it's probably actually a trap. Like the reason the reason this whole new situation happens with like the big spaceship thing and all these other people turn up is basically because they're responding to Olimar's distress call, which seems like, even in this early part of the story, seems like it was intended as a trap, basically, to lure a bunch of people to the planet for some reason.
Or will be revealed.
So don't worry about it apparently seeming to retcon Olimar's story, because I don't think it does.
Yeah, okay.
Getting sneaky with these stories.
But yeah, I don't know what's up with non-destroyed Earth.
Was there any of the, was it night mode?
No, not in the demo.
Right, yeah, because they made a big deal of that. Like, I don't know.
I mean, what is that even going to mean, really?
Like,
the enemies are tougher, and probably the ones that would usually be sleeping won't be sleeping.
And did you need like a specific type of Pikmin to actually take out at night or something? I can't remember.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a special glowy Pikmin.
Oh yeah, the glow Pikmin,
nighttime,
the like ghost Pikmin.
But like the eyes of the creatures look super crazy at night or whatever. Like they already look pretty scary.
Yes, like Gorons on drugs.
Like alpha Pokemon in whatever that Pokemon game was called. But yeah, that's Pikmin 4. It's probably good.
Probably good.
Hooray! Safe for my stupid fantasy league.
Dan's probably going to get some points.
That's like, is that like out already? Is it?
It's
very soon.
Yeah,
isn't it?
very soon.
Pikmin 4
months, at least.
Alrighty. There was that. Next, we got a little a reveal of something called Penny's Big Breakaway. Now, which, like, from the name alone, you might not think, it's probably not going to be on your radar, but it ends up on mine simply because it's made by staff that worked on Sonic Mania, and it's a 3D platformer, and it looked pretty good, I have to say. I'm not sure I'm into their art style because Penny is a sort of jester girl with clowny thing with a yo-yo. And the yo-yo is the main sort of like traversal mechanic thing in this game.
Which is a dangerous road to go down, having the like weird ability character.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there were a lot of elements in it that did just kind of look a bit Sonic-y. And I'm like, well, okay, this is fine. This is fine. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it looked like it could be good. I don't think they said it was coming out. I don't think they said when it was coming out. But I wanted to pay attention just because, the guys that worked on Sonic Mania can't be bad, right? It's not explicitly headcanon, right? It's not the studio. Like, I think it's like a breakaway group. A big breakaway. It's in the name.
You accidentally inserted that word into your mind there.
I did, yeah. Okay, so WarioWare Move It. They're making another WarioWare game with motion controls, which on the surface of it doesn't seem like a bad thing. Except, like, I got a bit annoyed about how they presented this thing, because it's like, they made it sound like they'd never done it before. Like, they were just, we're just going to forget that WarioWare Smooth Moves was a thing.
At least this time it will probably work better. I guess.
Maybe is the motion. I guess the Smooth Moves came out before Wii Motion Plus was a thing, right? So it's, and I guess the nunchucks are basically that.
And it's not going to try and use any IR shit, obviously. Well, not that IR shit.
No,
maybe the Switch's IR shit. Maybe they'll actually remember that feature.
They didn't even mention. I just realized they didn't even mention like everybody 1-2 switch in this thing, did they?
Of course not. They've already done their video for that.
Yeah. Weird that they didn't talk. I don't know. It's weird that they didn't just remind everyone briefly. There's like, hey,
maybe they didn't want it next to WarioWare.
Yeah, I think so. I think that might be the thing. The one note I've got here is that Gnome thought the music sounded a lot like Countdown, though.
I mean, it's appropriate in that case, right?
Yeah, I guess.
The whole game is a countdown. Like normally a 3-second countdown.
Yeah. I mean, in one respect, it's cool that we're getting more WarioWare, but also, I'm not sure. It didn't look like it innovated. Like, it was just what they'd done. It was just what they did with the Wii again.
And
I suppose that's a hard thing to actually like innovate on. Really, the whole original concept was so bonkers at the time that it's like it hasn't ever really pushed too much past it. Touched is clearly the best.
Wow, I guess. But they've extrapolated that as far as it can go, because like you can't go back. You can't go back to like press A.
Yeah.
Even though that was great. It was a great game at the time. But like you can't go back to a one button mechanic game.
It's too simple now. It's too simple. And then we get to the biggie, I suppose.
I guess
there's a new Mario game,
but not the kind that you want.
Not unfortunately, not Odyssey 2. Unfortunately, it's if we're being picky, it should be called New Super Mario Brothers.
But I'm glad they're not calling it that.
I mean, it's dumb. New Super Mario Bros. Was always a dumb name, but also like it did kind of like identify what the game was, like separate from the main, the 3D Marios. But anyway, Super Mario Bros. I suppose Super Mario Bros. Is now the 2D moniker, I guess. Even
though don't have to play as either of the Mario Bros. Again.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder, out this year, October 2023. I mean, it looked like they were going a bit mad with it. Like it's a 2D Mario game, but they're going a bit mental with its mechanics.
2D Mario on acid.
Yes.
Or like when you take the acid tab, then it's on acid. Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm into the fact that flower talks.
No, that's good. That was the one I saw immediately. I was like, this is just going to be incredibly annoying in about 2 seconds. You're going to be running past these flowers and they're constantly going shouting shit at you.
Yeah. So I'm a bit worried about that. They've also changed the art style a bit. I couldn't quite work out if it was actually like the models were 3D or if they're like a 3D-esque animated 2D thing. I couldn't. They look a bit odd.
It's because
they look in the cutscenes. They look a bit odd as well. They're a bit sort of squashy. But I guess that's the little Mario, right? In full 3D.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. Little Mario is a thing.
Fat Mario, little fat Mario.
Yeah,
but it's because they've changed his head to be like looking diagonally outwards from the screen.
Yeah,
you can see his face more, I guess.
That's what makes me think it's kind of 2D art that's not actually rendered in 3D.
That probably is just a model, but like it's
weird.
It's a weird angle.
And I'm not sure I'm into that change of look, honestly. They probably if they'd stuck with like a Paper Mario, gone back to that would have been great.
Well, but the thing is, like the advantage of this change in look is it makes it look slightly less like a New Super Mario Bros.
I guess, yeah.
Which is good.
But then why not just go all in on like do a pixel art Mario game?
They're not going to do that.
I know, but they should. It'd be kind of rad.
I mean, they've got
Mario Maker.
Mario Maker, yeah, exactly.
That's got all the pixel art.
But new pixel art.
I quite like the look, especially when it goes weirder. And then you've got the elephant suit, obviously.
I didn't like the. I also didn't like the sort of the Sonic-esque, which is weird. Like it's like they're cribbing something from Sonic here, and I don't like it. It's the weird little bumping multiple things or hitting things in a jump sequence, and it's going like good, great, amazing.
Rather than just giving you a one-up eventually.
Yeah, or just like it's. I thought that was slightly too much. It's always been subtle in Mario, that thing, and all of a sudden they're going like, "Oh well, you did that." And like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that felt out of place as well with the rest of the game design.
On the plus side, at least in Mario, in order to get those to happen, you have to have some skill rather than just mashing a button.
That is true.
That's the Sonic method. Good, great, awesome, amazing.
I mean, they're pretty meaningless in Sonic as well, right? They don't have to be there. But...
No.
It's probably going to be good.
It's probably going to be fine.
I mean, I enjoyed... What was the last one I played? Super Mario Bros. U. I didn't play Super Luigi U.
Well, I mean, that's the advantage for this perspective is that like you haven't played all of them, and therefore you're not extremely annoyed by yet more of this.
Sure, and in fact, the last one I probably played was the 3DS New Super Mario 2. Right. I think that was probably the last one I actually played.
Maybe it is just the branding, but I'm definitely more interested in this than I would be in a new Super Mario Brothers.
Which is weird because they're the same.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this one is trying to mix it up somewhat, I think.
Yeah.
The gameplay and the weirdness. It's not just... Because that was the main problem with the new Super Mario Bros. Games is it was just like... It might as well just be like, here's a level pack for the previous game.
Kinda.
Yeah.
But, like... with the exception of the first new Super Mario Brothers game, which was obviously just trying to do the reboot thing, right?
Yeah, trying to learn how to do it.
Yeah, they've all been pretty good at following the kind of new Mario style, right? Where every level has a kind of unique mechanic and that they don't really return to, right? It does that pretty well, where it's just like this is the level that does this, and you'll never see this again. So I think they deserve perhaps a little more credit than they get. Like especially you was good at that. Luigi, was probably just a level pack, but that's fair. And of course, new Super Mario 2 was going slightly off the rails with its like mega coin mechanic. Like coins, get all the coins, so many coins.
But is that really like a game-defining mechanic?
I mean, it kind of separates that one.
You get more coins than the normal number of coins you get anyway in a Mario game.
I mean, it separates that one, or at least the look of that one from the others because there's so many coins.
I don't think that counts. I don't think you can be like, we took this one sprite and put 1,000 of them on screen, so it's clearly different now.
I mean, a Nintendo executive would probably say that. I mean, if you didn't know the names of them, you could identify them that way. It's like it's one of all the coins.
I guess. But you might just think that's the coin level from one of the other games.
I guess. Wonder. Be steeped in wonder later this year. Take drugs later this year.
Become an elephant later this year.
Become an elephant. How on earth is that going to work? What are you going to do? You're gonna have sucking powers, aren't you? Mario's going to suck.
Possibly.
Suck, blow, all the powers.
He's basically just going to be Yoshi, right? It's going to turn him into Yoshi with suck and blow.
Might as well make a Yoshi power up.
Or Kirby. Just turn Mario into Kirby. So you can get Mario can get mouthful.
Meow, meow, meow. You have to get the right sound effects in.
Yes, go back to that. That's all I've picked up from the Nintendo Direct.
Wasn't there did you mention there's some kind of Princess Peach game that's purely Peach?
There is.
Purely Peachy game.
They didn't really see. We didn't get to see actually what that was. Really, they showed footage of like presumably cutscenes and stuff like that, and that she's on a stage and there's a dress change that they for some reason were like what they cut before you could see it was a dress change, but they were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And she's like, "It's just Peach doing glowy stuff." I don't know. Yeah, I guess we don't know what that is. I mean, Super Princess Peach was a game they made in the past, right? So maybe this is a return to that. It's just like a Yoshi's Woolly World kind of offshoot, that sort of tier of game.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh. Well, let's see.
I'm not saying those games are bad. I've not played Woolly World or Crafted World or anything like that. But
yeah. I don't think they're that challenging, let's say.
Yeah. I think that's fair. That's Nintendo. No Metroid Prime news.
No, didn't mention it even once.
No,
again.
Not even hinted.
I mean, the fact that they released Metroid Prime Remastered is encouraging for Metroid Prime 4, wouldn't you say? Yeah.
Well,
tide people over.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And it is apparently a very good remaster, so.
Yeah, apparently it's great.
Alrighty, let's talk. Unless you've got more.
No.
No. Microsoft versus FTC. Let's go. So that's all kicking off.
Thank you very much, the FTC. Thank you very much for finding me. $5,000 a fuck, so I'm really out of luck. There's more than iDevice is charging me. There you go. It's the FTC song for you.
Okay. That's the first bullet point covered.
So is it the FCC's fault, or I just?
Well, no. This is all sort of like. Well,
sorry.
The current situation is it's about the Activision deal, obviously between Microsoft buying Activision, Blizzard, and
which we all thought was already dead because of the UK's regulations.
So, but I guess they've got to fight what they can, right? Until it's definitive. Although it doesn't sound like the UK's going to budge either, but I guess that's still to come. That fight,
right?
Anyway, they're fighting against the FTC at the moment, who are moving for a preliminary injunction against the deal. and I don't know quite what that means, but in a statement recently, Bobby Kotick has basically said the deal is dead if the FTC wins this. And even whatever a preliminary injunction implies, it's not like a real injunction, it's a preliminary one. Can it get worse? Can they?
Well, presumably, I would guess the preliminary injunction is just to prevent the deal from happening for a certain period of time, but they want to look at it more.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's a delay.
But because the whole point of this deal was they'd already basically said when it was going to happen. So at this point, if there's a preliminary injunction, then technically this deal isn't going to happen. No. If there's any delay, it's not going to be the same deal.
I guess that's true. Yeah, it would be a different deal at that point. Yeah, so anyway, that's what's going on. But as a result of that, there was a whole bunch of we're seeing a whole bunch of materials surface from both Sony and Microsoft, because Sony's involved, obviously trying to fight their corner, as give evidence, I guess. But it means there's a whole bunch of materials that have been exposed, some of which shouldn't have been exposed. There was apparently a redacting mishap that meant an inadequate marker pen was used to redact the paper.
You could read through it.
And you could read through it, yeah. So there's some information here that we shouldn't know, but now everyone does.
That's some real office level bullshit where it's just you didn't use the specific brand of pen that we require you to use to redact documents, and therefore everyone can see through it.
I don't think it's been confirmed that it was a Sharpie, but some outlets are calling it the Sharpie mishap.
Of course.
So back in 2019, Matt Booty of Microsoft, who I think is head of Xbox Studios now, so not head of Xbox, not Phil Spencer, but the head of the sort of the gaming studios that Microsoft owns. They were basically strategizing about what to do. I guess their spending spree had already begun in 2019 to acquire new studios and things like that. But he kind of used the phrase "let's." In a conversation about what the strategy was going to be, he used the phrase "spend Sony out of business," which is not a good look if you're trying to say to make this deal look good. But Microsoft have replied to this saying, "Well, these statements were made 2 years before the deal was even kicking off."
This wasn't about that deal. That's not.
This wasn't about that deal. Yeah, it's about the deal we're discussing now. Therefore, it's irrelevant. And they even went on to say this is a position we didn't pursue, which is not strange true. Because that's kind of what they're doing. It's a weird statement. But they basically kind of say this happened too many years ago for it to be considered viable for now.
I mean, it's slightly interesting that they didn't just throw the guy under the bus, say that was his personal opinion or whatever.
Sure, yeah. Matt Booty's opinions don't necessarily, or say that they were having a conversation about what the strategy could be. Not that it actually was this.
Or maybe
it was just a meeting.
Or maybe that quote was out of context and they weren't even talking about video game companies.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they used the phrase "spend Sony out of business" is a bit.
They could be talking about
damning.
Hardware.
I guess. Yeah. But we'll come back to that because talking about hardware is interesting. But I don't know that plays into this. Or I would say there are strands of Microsoft that conflict with each other.
Sure.
Well, let's jump to that now. Satya, how do you pronounce his name? Satya.
Satya Nadella.
Satya Nadella. He's come out and said or it's been noted that at some point he has said, I kind of wish console exclusives weren't a thing. So he doesn't want console exclusivity to be part of the gaming landscape. And then goes on to effectively blame Sony for creating that market. And it's well, that's nonsense because that market existed way before you were even involved in the gaming industry. Console exclusives have always been a thing.
Yeah, but not really though, because up until the PS4 generation, I guess, they weren't on the same hardware, so there wasn't really as much opportunity to have this game could easily come out on the other console.
I guess that's true, but it's not the idea of taking the technicalities out of it. The concept of a console exclusive hasn't was always a thing, right? Like Wipeout 64, there's a Nintendo 64 exclusive version of that game, and there's with exclusive content in it.
Sure,
Ridge Racer 64.
That's not really
anything with a 64 in the name is usually a unique version of that game.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing, though, is it?
It kind of is.
That's what we're saying. It's like that's not console exclusivity. That's a game made for that console.
That is. I'm trying to work out if there's a difference there, because
there is, which is like you had to specifically deal with that system's architecture and program it specifically for that system. You had to put a team to learn how to do that. You can't just make the game and then just what we might say it was a port to another system.
I suppose
but nowadays it's literally just there's no restrictions almost.
I suppose the way to define that really is that there was. To clean that up, there's no contractual reason why that wouldn't appear anywhere else. Is that more accurate?
Yeah, I guess. It's like
being made for that console is one thing, but contractually they would be able to put it somewhere else if they did the work.
Yeah. I mean, because there were examples of that, I guess. Like, there were games that had the same name that came out on different consoles even back then, even though they were, like, literally different games but made the same.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if those sorts of deals.
I just don't think that's what they mean.
I wonder if that's what he's referring to. Like, I wonder if those sorts of deals existed.
I don't think that's what they mean by console exclusivity. I think they mean in the age when it could easily come out on all the consoles, then you're making deals to not allow that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more that way now than it ever has been, right? Because the architectures are so similar.
Yeah. And then, so in that case, I might argue that Sony was the one who started doing that in the PS4 generation when they were still the top dog, essentially.
Sure. I mean, but could you argue Nintendo were doing that like a long time before with their deals with Pokemon Company or in Game Freak, right? Because those,
but they're made for Nintendo consoles.
They were.
But I don't think any of those would have been easily made for any other console at the time.
I reckon they locked them in. Like,
well, I think
the Pokemon
that
games
might not even be a Nintendo choice. That might be a Pokemon Company choice.
True.
They might just prefer to stick with the Nintendo brand or whatever.
Keep their happy marketing,
the kids angle
conversation. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
it's potentially true. But it's just like I don't know. I reckon that must have happened. But he might have. There might be some truth in Sony making it more of a thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's which is an interesting position for the CEO of Microsoft to take when Microsoft are actively trying to get more exclusives as well.
Well, I mean,
because his position is, well, we have to do this because Sony are doing it.
Yes, I mean that is the classic.
We wish it wasn't the case.
Problem of mutually assured destruction. You can't not do it. You have to do it now.
You have to do it. Yeah. So that's his state. Sony have had a couple of interesting points in this as well. So in their reports, this I don't think was a redacted bit of details. I think they just came out and said this. According to Sony, 1 million PlayStation owners play nothing but Call of Duty on their systems. So they buy a system, register an account, and all they have played is COD.
It's COD, right?
That is 1 million people have done that. They then extrapolate that a little bit further and say that 6 million people spend at least 70% of their PlayStation game time in a Call of Duty game. So that's
6 million people.
6 million people spend 70% of their time in COD. You know, of their on PlayStation time, I guess. Yeah. Those are big numbers, actually. That's that is huge. Way bigger than I expected, honestly.
Yeah.
So that kind of that does help Sony's case, honestly, because it's
sure.
Those are big numbers. But in a email that was revealed, Jim Ryan, current head of PlayStation, back in January of last year, 2022, stated that he basically wasn't worried about COD becoming an exclusive, and not in the sense that they were worried if PlayStation lost it. They are worried that if that PlayStation loses it. But he was basically stating he didn't think that would happen. That Microsoft would make COD platform exclusive. So this is before the deal even really started getting going. But clearly they knew that it was going.
22 was.
It was before it was all officially announced, right? So
I guess depends when in 22. Oh, January. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, early 22. It was kind of like, well, it was, I want to say it was like March,
Yeah.
Not far from there, but a little bit later than that it all became public. So yeah, clearly they'd heard that this was going down, but he wasn't too bothered, essentially. It's like, yeah, whatever. We're still going to get it. And in fairness, everything Microsoft has said since then kind of backs that up, right? I still don't believe it's in Microsoft's interest to make it console exclusive.
No, not if you want to make the most money.
Exactly.
Just sell it everywhere.
Exactly.
Timed console exclusive, that you can get away with.
That's plausible. Yeah. Maybe not on the free-to-play side of things. Maybe not in like Warzone and stuff like that. But the mainline games, maybe they would pull that trick. That's everything we've learned, really, from all the juicy bits, I suppose, from what's going on in this case.
The insufficiently juicy bits, not enough pen juice.
Not enough pen juice, yes. You need thoroughly wet pens for this.
Thoroughly wet pens. Lovely phrase.
Let that ink get moist.
Get moist.
Yeah, I think you let the paper get moist. The ink is already moist.
Depends what kind of ink it is, I guess. Does it need to leave? Is it like freeze dried ink that you then need to moisten up so then it dries nicely again on the paper?
We just don't know what kind of pen they're using. Go back to using
tape.
Oh, yeah, tape, that would work.
Do they have like what's that stuff that you like Tipex, kind of like Tipex tape or something, but make it just black?
I mean, you can leave it white. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, that's true.
Redact it with whatever colour you want, really, as long as it obscures the thing that's underneath it.
Permanently, that's the trick, though, right? So you can't take it off.
Well, it depends on what context. If you're making a photocopy, then whatever. Doesn't matter if it falls off afterwards.
I guess that's true. Yeah. So that's what's going on with that. And in news that's of interest to Dan, a leak from a South Korean games rating body suggests that Red Dead Redemption, the first one, might actually be getting remastered for PC.
Whoa, no way. Don't believe it. I thought that was like a train wreck, technically.
Yes, apparently that is true.
Okay.
But
that would be a turn up for the books. I mean, I don't know, because like Rockstar didn't actually do those stupid remasters of
the definitive editions of GTA.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is the reason why this rumor might be nonsense, or might have been true, but is a mistake on the ratings board account because it might not have happened because of GTA Definitive Edition.
Right, yeah.
Because that was such a disaster, they might have pulled the plug on trying to remaster Red Dead.
They might have ended their relationship with that company.
With the company that was doing it, yes. I think that's entirely plausible. And that this was just, for some reason, they forgot to tell them not to do it, I guess, or the South Koreans decided, or just didn't get that memo, or someone didn't get the memo to not rate. But then, like, what are they rating at that point? Like, are they rating the original game before this was even made? Like,
or they'd actually made part of it, like a segment. They'd done some work, possibly.
I mean, it'd be fantastic if it was a thing, right? Because the fact that it's locked to 360 and PS3 is kind of a bummer. Well, I guess it's not locked to 360 anymore because Xbox Back Compat works with it pretty well. So you could play it on your Series X, no trouble. But yeah, it'd be nice to get a. Imagine if they redid it like with RDR2 quality. That'd be great.
I mean, impossible, but yeah, it would be incredible.
That'd be great.
Yeah. what are they doing? GTA 6, I guess.
GTA 6, yeah.
They've been working on it forever. How can that possibly... What even is that going to be? I don't know. The detail that must be going into that is ridiculous.
They just need to tell another good story, right? That's all.
It's time for London. Come on.
Yes, it is time for London. That they won't do London.
No, they won't. But yeah, I still have no idea what the hell they're going to do or what they've done or what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, they just have to, as I say, they just have to tell a good story, right? And it's for
sure.
As much of a money machine as GTA Online clearly is for them. It's like there's a bunch of people that just play their single player stuff, right? Like just play GTA 5 standalone, just play RDR2.
Yeah.
There's I think they'd be mad to not continue their heritage, I suppose, continue their lineage of good single player experiences. It's their best thing. It's easily their best thing. Just doesn't make much money as GTA Online, clearly, but
I suppose. Yeah.
But then it would be the framework for the next gen of like GTA Online, I guess. But like, how do they do that? Do they kill existing GTA Online, or do they?
It's a classic problem.
Port all of your money and unlocks over.
Yeah.
Oh god!
I mean, GTA
map
entirely. Yeah, GTA is so big that it like it would be mad to kill it now. So it's.
Yeah,
or to try.
If you thought people spent a lot of money on Counter-Strike, how about GTA Online?
Yeah, shark cards.
Yeah. Oh well, never mind. Whatever. We will see what they do, I guess. They've got infinite money to do it, so...
Yeah, there was no GTA 6 news this year, I suppose, during the summer this summer period. Unless
we know they're doing it because it was all leaked, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they have confirmed that
since.
But yeah, maybe we only know that because of leaks. And they were like, yeah, of course we're doing that.
Right, so small potential, but quite skeptical.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up.
It would be nice to be able to play Red Dead Redemption. I liked that
on
game.
A PC, that'd be great.
Even GTA 4 is a little bit dodgy on PC, isn't it? I think it's okay, but
it's always fine for me.
As dodgy as GTA 4 was to start with.
Yeah,
yeah, I guess.
You could just and the best thing is that people will be able to mod back in the model swaps, right?
So, obviously, mod back in the bugs.
Yeah, exactly. I want those flying people or donkey woman.
T-pose flying people. Yeah. That's awesome.
Or the dog during the Mexican the dog model swap, the key cutscene in Mexico. That was a pretty good video.
Right.
That is the news.
That is the neuse. Okay, that means it's time for what you've been playing.
Which means you need to tell us about Zelda again.
Yeah, where you at, man?
Yeah, I played some Zelda. Yeah. Finally got to the Windfish, whatever. No. I got to Kakariko Village.
Right.
And found some ring ruins and stuff. I tried to
experience some frame drops.
Yeah, severe.
It's pretty rough, isn't it?
Even worse than the previous game.
Yeah,
oh my god,
it's pretty rough.
Yeah, shocking. And then I tried to go towards Hateno or whatever, but I kept getting distracted and going to different towers. And I think I ended up in the freaking the fishing village at the edge of the map.
Oh, right.
Oh wow! I just went completely cross because literally I came out of Kakariko Village and I was like, okay, well down here goes to like the first stables that you go to in Breath of the Wild, basically the one at the bottom of the Dueling Peaks.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So okay, and then I was like, well, where is there's always a shrine right next to the stable. So where is it? Oh, okay, up on the cliff there. So managed to get up there, do the shrine, and then the nearest tower that you can see is not the Hateno Tower; it's the one for the whole bottom of the map, right? You can see it from there. So I was like, oh, okay, I didn't do that one, and then I just kept spotting shrines and hopping basically until I ended up in the fishing village.
That's cool. Because that means you kind of had the proper the old school I was doing it that
follow
way.
What's interesting.
Yeah.
I say old school, but the Breath of the Wild, like follow what's interesting thing.
I did do the on your advice, I did find the quest for the to unlock the depths properly and get the camera.
Right.
You don't get the if you don't do that, you don't get the camera.
No, so you don't get to fill out the compendium, and then that's
yeah. So I got the camera, and then I went back to the couple of ancient texts that I'd found in the sky or whatever. Took pictures of those. You get 100 rupees for those, which is pretty good. So I got a couple of those. So I ended up on a couple of sky islands. Just to find those, the Southern Hyrule Archipelago, whatever. Did a couple of those ones where you have to get the gem on lasered to the
the laser shrines,
whatever. Yeah, a couple of laser shrines. Did one in a cave, I think. What else? So yeah, the puzzle of that tower was it had brambles, but you couldn't burn them because it was raining. So
I do remember that. Which one are you talking about? Oh, yeah.
On the edge of the lake, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I fell into the whirlpool. Yeah. I went into the whirlpool in the lake.
Right.
Whatever, Lake Hylia, and there's a shrine down there or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that one, because I think in the Sky Island there's a
crystal. You have to chuck the crystal into the whirlpool.
Yeah.
I haven't done that one yet. That sounds fun.
So I did that. So that was cool. I'm literally when you the all over the place.
I thought you were. Yeah, when you said whirlpool, I thought you were doing something in Zora Domain.
No, that's a different whirlpool.
No, I haven't been to that one. I'm all over the fucking map, and obviously I'm super There's bad guys have taken over the fishing village, and it's they instantly kill me. Obviously.
Oh, is that the pirate storyline?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah,
I haven't started it.
I've not done that yet.
I fell down the well, and there was a black bokoblin, and he just murdered me completely.
Yeah.
So I need to level up more.
You need to get some great fairy stuff. That's what you need. You really need that, as it turns out.
Yeah, I haven't got much to upgrade. I want to because I was like, okay, my favorite armor from the old game was the stealth suit, so I'll buy that from Kakariko Village, which is still there, but it has there's the quest line to get the grandma back up to speed or whatever. And I've got the gloom ingredient, but I need milk and rice and shit. So I thought, ahead.
Right. Yeah.
I think Hitano is the right region for rice, so that's why
for food in general. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but no, I got completely sidetracked. So yeah, I did a shrine down by the village, which was one of those combat trials called Flow, where there's it gets rid of all your weapons. Yeah. And it had a ton of constructs in there.
Oh, was it a proving grounds thing?
Yeah, proving grounds. That's what I meant.
It's the one with the rings of water, right?
Yeah, going round, and you can ascend through the sort of things that are floating along. But you have to do quite a bit of fusing because they're quite tough if you just have a stick.
Yeah.
I did that.
I find myself from the shrines wanting a little more puzzle out of them.
Well, that's what I said, right? It's
you did say
a lot of the time when they are here's a fancy mechanic, they only do it it's the Portal 2 problem. They introduce a cool idea, but then it just that's it.
Well, or the new Super Mario Bros. Problem, right, I guess.
Yeah, I guess one level.
Yeah, do it the once and then never do it again.
But not even do it once sufficiently.
Yeah, I feel like they've never really challenged me. I don't think the combat stuff has always been the most challenging so far. It's you go into the ones where it's hey, look at our mechanics, aren't they cool? And I'm like, yes, but make me do something more cool with them, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I suppose you can then go and take those, whatever they are, some of them, devices, and combine them in different ways outside or whatever. I just discovered the one. Do you get that around? Is that a device that you get, the one that stands upright?
Yes.
Okay. So I got that one. I haven't thought of creative uses for that. Yeah.
Have you not done the shrine about that device?
No, I did that one where it flips.
Makes a catapult.
Yeah, the catapult.
Yeah, it makes a catapult. Yeah, so I did that. I guess that's what it's for.
That's one of the few things that I have actually made a blueprint for.
You don't find many of them out in the wild is sort of the problem.
Well, not a catapult. I've made a sniper tower basically.
Right.
Because I was for certain bosses, I want to be able to jump and get into slow motion. So I'm just I'll just create a tower that stands up and then I can ascend onto the top of it and then I can jump off and then I can get slow motion arrows.
Oh, I see. Oh, that works.
That's so funny. But you're at the point where you don't. Oh well, I suppose Dan hasn't discovered the thing yet. But yeah.
But yeah, it's like once you get that, like that one in particular seemed like, what are you even going to use this for apart from this one specific thing that the shrine makes you do? It doesn't seem that useful. I hear that there is some special like design that you can use. You can use those to like stabilize vehicles, but not in the way you would think.
Right? Yeah, because I don't know when that would actually be useful.
Yeah,
like because most of anything that's like flying or hovering is like automatically stabilized. Right? There isn't a need to do that wildly, and you don't want to stabilize the wing, I guess, because then you can't steer it.
Yeah. But yeah, I haven't really found any particular use for that either. But then again, as I've said several times, I'm still not really building vehicles that much. I'm just playing it like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I think I'm doing the same.
Apart from where it's designed for them, I'm not very good at using the wings or whatever. I haven't, unless you have a rocket or something. I'm not very good at.
Yeah, you need something. You need something to get them airborne, which is like unless you've got something to roll them off. Or
I did find
I tried like ultra handing it into the air and then pulling it down and standing on it and then reversing it, but that doesn't quite work. I mean, it doesn't give you much air. I don't know.
I did finally eventually realize that you can just VTOL it with rockets. You don't have to have it shoot forwards off a ramp. You can just have the rocket shoot it up and then it just starts gliding.
Yeah. That
right. Okay. I guess that makes sense. What else? Oh, yeah. I noticed right above Kakariko Village that one of the dragons, which seemed much more prominent in this game, which is diving straight into a chasm.
Yep.
So I just like followed it and I just stood on its head and it just flew around the depths.
Yeah,
and I was
they have a specific loop now, which is slightly they're much more obvious, and it's a loop, so that they just go around in a path, and it's a continuous loop rather than it resetting like it used to in Breath of the Wild.
Right,
which in some ways makes it easier to harvest dragon parts, and in some ways makes it harder. Because in Breath of the Wild, you could set up camp basically and use a campfire to reset the day, and then the dragon would spawn, and then you shoot it and get the part, and then you use the campfire, reset it, it would come down again. You just do that over and over. But in this game, the dragon's movement around the path doesn't change if you like sleep or whatever. It just stays exactly where it was.
Oh wow! So they don't. So it's not timed.
It's not literally time. It's just their movement.
Oh, that's okay. So that does make that a lot harder.
Yeah, and also because you can only harvest them once every some period of time because they have to they recharge and then they start glowing again or whatever.
Loop, I guess.
Well, yeah, I assume it must be related to their literal physical travel time because I'm pretty sure you can't even use the campfires to reset that.
Right.
Because otherwise you could literally have them be in one spot and then just keep using a campfire and keep shooting them over and over.
I forget, how does the fight against those how did they even work in Breath of the Wild? Because I only really remember the one off, where there's wind everywhere and you flying
the
around.
One where you have to
cause the wind, don't they? And then
they cause a zone of wind around them, basically.
Okay.
So in that,
so you can airborne fight. If you're nearby, you can just airborne fight any of them.
Yeah, I mean it's not necessary it's only necessary in that one case in Breath of the Wild because of you have to get the corruption off it or whatever. But otherwise, yes, they all do still have a wind zone in their vicinity.
I feel bad that you have to fight those guys, though, right?
You don't really have to fight them.
or attack them in any way.
Well, I mean, in Breath of the Wild, they explain it, though, right? Because in that quest, it's just shoot it with an arrow, but it doesn't really care. It's fine.
Okay.
It says that in a text box, basically. Doesn't say that in this game, I guess.
No,
you're just shooting these dragons for no apparent reason.
No one's ever even mentioned them in my playthrough so far.
Well, someone has. I'm pretty sure.
It does feel like there's the mystical beings are much more just present, just there. You just look over there, and there's a giant three-headed dragon or whatever in this game. Yeah, which wasn't so much the case.
And I also found that weird because they didn't update the compendium description of the dragons. Because all the dragons still have the same compendium description, which is very few people have seen them in the current age as it's flying into this hole right next to Kakariko Village.
Right there, yeah.
So weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure about all that.
They just didn't think that through, did they? It's
no.
Very few people have seen it. It's why? It's right there. I can see that one.
That one,
that one or Farish.
Obviously, they just
pretty much all of them. You can just see from anywhere, miles away. It's there it is. It's like
I saw one in the first 5 minutes of the game, I think.
Well, I mean,
there's Sky Island at the start, and there's one right there.
Yes, there's that specific one that's always there.
It's like how a lot of the Rito just look up and goes, it looks like there's flying ships up there, and it's like, but I can't be sure. Like, of course there can't be, and it's like the Rito could just fly up there and see all the flying ships, not in the.
Well, yeah, the outside ones, yes, not the big one. They're only slightly affected by the blizzard.
Yeah, that was slightly odd.
But I don't like maybe the implication of that companion entry for the dragons implies that they're like Koroks, like most people can't see them.
Oh yeah, no one can see Koroks. Yeah,
except you for some reason. No one can see Hestu hanging out
in the town.
Yeah, just right there.
I have noticed myself, like, unlike with the original Koroks, the ones that you have to move or whatever, I have noticed myself just walking past them being like, oh, I'll come back.
Yep, you just have to mark them sometimes.
Yeah,
to come back later.
I do try and do most of them, but there's the odd one where I'm just like, no, not right now.
Not going in that direction. Yeah. That's the key.
Yeah. And that wasn't a problem with the original Koroks. Yeah.
Some of them are so mundane where it's just like, this isn't even a challenge. Like, come on, man. Like the one you just watched me earlier, where it's just like, I'm just rolling this guy down a hill. So.
Well, I mean, that was slightly modified by the fact that you'd already been down there and then killed all the enemies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I had done that. Then wandered back and it's like, oh, I better sort this guy out. But even then, that wouldn't have been that bad.
No.
You know, I just rolled him down, had a fight, and then rolled
the
him
enemies
a bit more.
don't attack the Koroks, and the Koroks don't. It's not like when you're transporting people and they can fall off or whatever.
Those are annoying. I really don't like those. The sort of put someone in a car and then would take them across some scenario, and then because they're just so complainy, and sometimes it's just everything seems fine, and then it will do the sort of beep, whip.
Yeah,
like you failed the challenge. Yeah, I don't like those. I think those. They're not a terrible idea. They're just awkward. They're just somehow super awkward. I am getting like slightly more. I still don't think I'll carry on my tales about combat. Like I still don't think I'm gelling with it. Weirdly, I was way better at flurry rushing at the start of the game than I am now.
Right.
Like I don't know what's happened. Like the timing just feels off. Like, or just weird at times. Like, it was super. Like I remember when you first saw me starting the game, and I'm like, well, this is super generous. Like, coming up, like, I guess coming off the back of Hyrule Warriors and how that was quite a lot thinner. And, but then I've really struggled to pull that off since. Like, I don't know, there are times where it feels like I'm doing a backflip at a stylish moment and it hasn't triggered, and times where I've done that and it feels like I'm getting hit during the middle of the dodge, and it's like, well, that doesn't feel right. And I know directionality of dodges is important in this, and it's like, but there are times where it's just like, I didn't think that was anywhere near me, and that still counted, and it's like, I don't know. There's just all these little classic combat niggles I'm having with it at the moment, and it's.
I mean, I still completely fail to read some of the new attacks. Like, you'd think at this point I would have adapted to the new attacks. Like, it's mainly like the horn attacks. Like, when the moblin...
I don't like the little run charge that bokoblins do. For some reason, that really throws me. Like, I know it's like super obvious, but it's just like I just don't see it.
Well, that's the one thing that I've finally learned to use the parry for. Where I'm like, oh right, that's a good idea. Easier to parry than it is to dodge. Yeah, I guess
that's a good idea.
But then, like, the one that I always screw up is when the moblins do their horn slam, like they mash their head into the ground forwards.
Oh, right, yes.
I
so
always try and backflip that. Yeah, and that's not, you can't backflip that. You have to side dodge it.
They sort of death dive at you.
Yeah.
Sort of like, yeah, okay. And I don't... I'm annoyed by the fact that there aren't many opportunities actually to use your shield, because most of the weapons you find are double-handers or spears. And it's like, I very rarely find a single-handed weaponry, so I'm never using the shield.
I have got better at, like, putting away the weapon in between attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm fighting, like, a line or whatever, it's much easier to do that, because you just, like, after you're done with the one opportunity to attack, you just put it away and wait for them just so if you do screw up the dodge, you'll just block it instead.
Right. Yeah, I still haven't fought a line. I haven't dared. I fought Gleok, though, finally.
Which is weird. Like,
are they harder?
I mean, arguably. I mean, it's a completely different skill, really, I guess, fighting a Gleok in terms of fighting just about any other enemy, really.
I mean, that was quite a fun fight, actually. Fighting the Gleok was kind of cool.
Yeah.
and I won't tell you what it's about, Dan. But so far the Fire Temple has been the most interesting, the most temple-y feeling of locations.
Okay. I don't know, where am I supposed to go next after the first one?
Technically, it is Death Mountain after Rita.
Oh, Death Mountain. Okay. Maybe I'll head up there, go to that restaurant. That sounds tempting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I quite liked that whole stupid storyline. It's pretty dumb, but like it's fun. Drugs, man.
God damn it! I don't know, like massacred my boy, as the phrase goes. Apart from you solve that problem in about 2 seconds and it's fine.
Yeah. I thought that was I think that's a good section of that game. I enjoyed that. It was nice because I've been faffing for so long. I felt that was like weirdly like Elden and Death Mountain and that area has been a nice sort of break.
Right.
Like it feels different from the rest of the game.
Well, also because it's literally like the terrain is completely different.
Yeah. It's nice. It's nice.
It's not just grass fields. And now I know Rob has seen it, but I wanted to see if Dan has seen it in a non-spoilery way. Have you come across what I would call the like Guardian tier enemy of this game, but not a robot? It serves the same purpose as a Guardian, but it's not a construct or anything like the Flux constructs.
Oh, the Flux construct. Is that what you mean?
No, that's not.
You mean the Gloom stuff?
Yes, the Gloom stuff.
Oh, the Gloom hands.
I have seen the Gloom hands. I ran away.
Yes, that's why.
Those are a pain in the arse.
That's why I would say they're like the Guardian equivalent, because it's like in the early game you just have no idea what the fuck you're meant to do about those.
Nope.
Yeah.
They are brutal. I mean, I've fought one once and just about survived.
Yeah.
But that was brutal.
But yes, so the reason
they move pretty fast as well.
Yeah, yes, pretty hard to escape.
The reason I bring that up, and now that we've all seen one, is because like even at the end of the game, I still don't really know what you're meant to do about those.
Like, what's the trick, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know what the trick is, because when I first saw one, I was like, okay, so obviously this is ridiculous, I can't fight this, so what is the trick? So I was like, well, obviously in this game, it's got to be something, something logical but cool, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just going to try and so I basically sat there, because I was standing on a cliff, so it couldn't get me. So it was just sitting there looking at me.
It didn't try coming up the wall,
No, they only have a certain like height limit they can actually carve up. So there are places you can just stand there basically.
Huh.
So I was standing there and I was basically just took the time to basically be like, so what would be a logical thing to defeat this? I'll just chuck it at it. So I was like, I'm dazzle fruit and bright blooms and like, so I was just like throwing shit at it and shooting it with arrows. It's
trying
like,
to see what works.
Yeah, see if any of this works, and none of it seemed to. And I was just like, well, what the fuck is the solution to this then?
Is there some kind of like anti-gloom fruit that would explode that we haven't come across? But then you'd have seen it by now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously there's gloom mitigation, because with the depths and everything, you get the Sunderlions, and you can make the gloom resistance, and you get the gloom resistance armor or whatever.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's nice, but it doesn't really help with the mechanics of that fight. It prevents you from taking as much damage.
Right. It makes it a little easier, I guess.
But yeah, I think
there's a nice surprise in that fight as well.
Yeah,
I won't say anymore.
I think the like actual maybe intention of that is that the solution is to have more of the sages, because several of the enemies do this. Like there's the Gloom Hands. There's the way the three heads of the Gleok target different people.
Yeah.
There's the Bokoblin squads, where obviously if you've got multiple targets there, they can be attacking different people.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that was the intention of some of these big enemies in this game, is that they were meant to get easier as you get more of the sage avatars. But I don't think it really works that well, especially not in the Gloom Hands case. It's just a bit much. Even with the sages. So
can you bring out multiple sages at once?
Yes, you just have the whole squad.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
But yeah.
I mean, and in fact, that's the default unless you turn them off.
Yes.
They're just on.
You just turn them on and off at will.
Yeah.
Which is helpful.
Yeah, I do turn them off because it's kind of weird having Ghost with you at all times.
I wish they would... like, the way they constantly pop in and out of you, and obviously it gets worse the more you have. But like,
why don't they just? I guess the problem is like that control mechanic where you have to walk up to some to do the ability, right?
Well, you have to hit A next to them on the ground. But like the way they pop in and out all the time is like if you even go into the climb animation for a second, they all just suck straight back into you. And it's just like, this is really annoying. Sometimes it's nicer just to turn them off. But then when
surely Tulin could just like keep flying next.
Well, he can though. Like, well, no, I guess he doesn't when you're climbing.
But
he does fly next to you when you're flying. But obviously, that's because that's when you need to use his ability.
When you need him. Yeah.
But yeah, having them constantly ping in and out. And then, like, there's one situation where I wish they did go back into you, which is when you're in stealth. If you crouch,
that is so stupid.
They just stand there. Stand there, and it looks really dumb.
That is really dumb.
I mean, obviously they're ghosts, and people can't see them until they start fighting them, because then they can totally then see them.
Yeah, it's really stupid. It's fair, but it just looks really dumb.
Yes, they should either have made them stay behind you while you're in stealth, or just made them ping into you when you're in stealth.
If they just like had a crouch animation, even if they were standing out in the open, that would be better.
Made them look like they were in stealth.
Yeah.
But yes, that's kind of a reason to turn them on and off sometimes. I mean, there's definitely been cases where I've just like turned them off and then jumped into the air and then been like, why can't I gust? Oh, wait.
Oh, yeah.
You need to keep that one on.
Yeah, it's too useful, that.
You didn't think it was going to be? You thought it was going to be not...
I mean, it's not as good as Revive.
Oh, I mean, obviously.
But it is, I'm basically trying to do it all the time.
I'm constantly mashing A while it's recharging.
Yeah.
Like, give me more boost. I just want to go faster.
More boost.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, with a bit of stamina and the boost, you can get quite far.
Even without building a whole vehicle.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the actual solution. But again, who's going to bother doing that?
Well, and also the wings despawn, so it's like...
Well, the wings do.
You have to build
just
something
find
else.
the nearest rock to time reverse into the sky and then just...
glide for a hell of a long distance.
Glide for 8 miles.
Or just teleport to a shrine in the sky and glide for even longer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I've been dealing with in the late game harvesting of dragon parts. Because you can see them from anywhere. I'm just like, oh, look, there's a dragon over there in the distance. I'll just tag it with a map marker, look on the sky map, see which the nearest shrine is, and then just teleport up there and jump down onto it. Harvest those dragon parts.
I do wish there was a... My nits to pick with Zelda are fairly small, but they're like Zach at least confirmed. I don't know if we talked about this last time, but the weapon delay issue I have.
Right, yes. Like, I did actually confirm Rob's specific problem with
it's
switching
not
weapons.
just my controller problem.
No.
As it turns out.
It's just that, like, I never noticed it because I never did it in that situation.
And I guess it's because I'm using, like, because I'm almost always got a two-handed weapon, right? That delay after the second swing is quite epic.
Yeah. And
so I'm trying to then, like, I've got plenty of time to be like, well, I want to switch weapons now. And it doesn't let you until Link settles.
Yeah.
And then I just wish I could hold that, and it would pop the menu when it was done, but it doesn't do that. Like
you have to register the button press after the animation is finished or whatever.
I would be okay with like if it was a hold and wait. That would feel way better. But anyway, there's that. I kind of wish like they had just made cooking like a nice menu system now. Like, I mean, it's not too bad to go through. I would still want to go through the material list, add them to my hands, but then I don't want to go into the hold state. I'd like to go up to a pot and be like, cook, and just go pick, go.
Maybe. But it was just they're just using the hold mechanic.
I know they are.
But
that mechanic is like next to meaningless now because there's not something because you don't even have the Korok games where you have to put something in a thing anymore, right?
A couple of times. They're much rarer. They do still exist.
I've not seen one yet.
But you don't even need to use the hold for that because you can just drop it from the materials wheel.
Oh, right.
Provided you're standing in the right place.
Yeah,
it's a bit more awkward because you don't have like the targeting cursor like you do when you're holding stuff.
Didn't even think of that, but yeah.
But yeah, cooking, at least you have that nice recipe list now. So if you want to, you can quick select the same ingredients again.
Yeah, that's true.
And it'll also tell you what the previous ingredients were. I wish it saved every combination rather than just the last 5. But it's better than nothing. I guess.
Does it? There's a like do last thing.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even spell that.
If you're in your materials list and you press on the material, it's got an option that says select for recipe, and then that shows you what recipes it can be used in that you know of, and then you can press those to pull those specific items.
Oh, sure, but I thought you meant like last time you went into the menu and held stuff, there was just like a shortcut to go do that hold again.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that is that, but it's not exactly a shortcut.
It's a few more steps. I wonder if that's even quicker than if you like going through the material list and just go that.
I guess it depends where in the material list they are, and how much you have to scroll up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish it saved every combination you've made of one type of food. Obviously, that would be a ridiculously huge list at some point, but just save the last 5. Because I keep, when you're experimenting and you're like, oh, this one thing I did worked really well, but these other ones weren't so good. But if it drops off the bottom of the last 5 you've made, then you might forget what the good one you did was.
Yeah. I kind of wish there was more cool things to do with the core power set as well. I'm still feeling that, I think. And maybe I'm just missing bombs and like how those work, the remote bombs from Breath of the Wild. They were just so versatile.
I guess.
And it's like I don't know, but like just having Master Hand as kind of the thing. Like Ascend is fine, but it's like the game goes out of its way to stop you using it in like key places. Like, or there are certain bits of architecture you come across, and it's just like, well, okay, I can't use that here, so that's not actually useful. Stuff like that. It's just too many occasions, and fuse is obviously is not really an ability per se. It's like it's weapon it's a weapon management tool, not something you can use to your advantage in a cool bombastic way. And don't get me wrong, it's like it's cool in itself, but it's not really a.
No, I mean
it's a different kind of ability, and it's like, and then there are times where I just feel like okay, perhaps there should have been something else in that move set, but. That's what the sages are for, and the sages are just kind of awkward. Like,
yeah, I guess so. Like, fuse would be more of a power if there were more useful things that were like one-offs. Because there are a few, like attaching a Zonai time bomb to a shield or whatever. So when the enemy hits the shield, the bomb falls off and onto the floor or whatever.
Oh, right, yes.
It's a one-use attachment, but, like, there's not really many of those, and they're not even that useful, the ones that do exist. Like, attaching a puff string to your shield, that's technically a useful thing, I guess, but it's such a one-off thing, and it's so inconvenient to have to do that to reset it every time.
It, yeah.
I haven't found... I like that. There may be one specific solution to that problem, but I don't know if it exists. I'm not going to talk about it in a spoilery way, even for me.
Okay. So that's something to try.
Yeah, something to try. Try attaching shit to your shields.
What's your favourite then for shields?
Well, my favourite for shields is stacking 2 of the same shield on top of each other because I've got so many fucking shields.
Well, you're fusing a shield to a shield?
Yeah. Every shield I have is just 2 of that same shield on top of each other at this point.
Shields.
Yep.
Genius.
Apart from a couple where it's just like, where I like defeated a Talus and I didn't have any weapons to put the heart on, and I was just like, well, I'll just fuse it to a shield, I guess.
Well, I think that makes an extra rock hammer.
But I already had enough weapons.
Sure. I mean, it makes a rock hammer out of your shield, right? Like,
I guess.
Do that stuff.
I never remember to use that. Maybe because I have actual hammers, but...
Sure, yeah.
I did put a fire Talus heart on a shield, so it does a fire on the parry attack, which is nice, I guess. Elemental parry.
Flame proofing let you stand on fire Taluses?
Yes.
Is that the thing? Okay, cool.
I think you might need full flame proofing, not...
Or the 2-layer?
Well, no, the specific armor ability where when you have the full set upgraded to 2, it gives you flame immunity or whatever.
Okay. Rats.
So you don't catch on fire at all. I don't actually know that for sure.
Well, maybe I won't try and fight those yet.
Well, you can try it.
I've seen a couple. But...
You can try it. Just find out.
You can try everything, but like, it's whether or not it's a waste of time or not.
Or you can just fight those the non-cheese way, because the armor way is clearly the cheese way.
Sure.
Just put on the flame resistance armor, and then you just do whatever. Or you can do it the way they wanted you to originally do it, where you cool them down using any one of the numerous ways you can do that in this game.
Sure. Which I do at least carry. specific weapons for that.
Don't even need to use weapons.
Don't even need weapons.
Just chuck an ice fruit on them. Or a water fruit. I don't actually know which one would be more effective or if they both are. Anyway.
Oh, and I definitely found one puzzly thing or the like Ridley type thing where I'm just like, for once, I actually don't know what you're asking me to do.
No. Okay.
I thought I understood it, and then I tried it, and it totally wasn't the thing. So it's like, oh, okay, well now I've got no idea. And I've definitely stumbled upon things that like I'm clearly missing what this is.
In what way?
Well, I found things in the depths where it's just like, well, here's clearly a thing, but I don't understand how to interact with this.
Oh,
yet.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
It's like it hasn't triggered the mission that's going to allow you to interact with it.
To do it, yeah.
Right.
Or I'm missing a thing, like an item or something I need to do something with it.
I mean, I feel like there's less...
There's very few of those, isn't there, in this game in general, where it's just like you're missing a thing.
And often if you do find them like ahead of time, it kind of like inserts you into the mission at the right point sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. I definitely thought there were moments where you'll come across this, I think, Dan, as you start getting the sages. It's like the game's generally pretty good at picking up on when you've like skipped, I suppose, or when you've like got ahead of a story beat or a quest or something, and will adjust the dialogue to suit. But it's like there are definitely moments where it doesn't fit, and it's not quite right. Like, when you're acquiring the sages, for instance, and there's a bit of repetition to some of the stuff that comes out of that and some of the phrases, and I can't remember the dialogue specifically, but there was something one of the Gorons said to me where it's just like, no, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Weird.
But that one in particular where I was just like, no, that's very clearly wrong. I did not do that, but you think I have, so okay, let's carry on.
And that wasn't intentional. It wasn't like he heard a rumor and it was wrong or something.
No, I think it was just a bit of dialogue where it's just like yeah,
they just done it in a different way.
Yeah, they just hadn't adjusted or something. It's just like, well, okay, fine. But the game's normally pretty good at that.
Yeah,
and I imagine there's so many possibilities, right? That must have been an incredibly hard problem to write around and detect at times.
All the orders in which things can happen.
Yeah,
and how much you can do without talking to the people who tell you to do
exactly.
things.
Yeah, you can just go ahead and do them half the time. And there's definitely one I know about where I need to talk to someone at a specific moment in a specific place, but I've already been to that place and done the thing there. And it's like, so that's kind of annoying.
Having to go back.
Yeah.
That's
quite a game.
Zelda.
Yeah.
Still Zelda. And will continue to be for the next 6 months,
and it's getting kind of annoying how big this game is. Not in the sense that I'm not enjoying my time with it, because I definitely still am, and the draw is still strong. But there's some pretty good, there's some bangers coming out on Game Pass at the moment, and it's just like, and obviously I've still got a bit of a retro kick in me that I'm not really doing that much of, and it's like, oh no, there are other games in the universe. Like I'm not one of the 1 million players that just play COD. Like, there are other games.
But not on the Switch. Well, no, I guess there were at least one other game for you on the Switch recently.
I guess, yes. Things are happening.
This might be the only game I've played on my Switch for a long time. Or full game. I guess I've played demos.
Yeah, demos.
Yeah, I'm theoretically at the end now, I guess, but I'm just on the armor upgrade grind because, I want to get everything.
Epic, yeah.
I haven't even done all the shrines yet. I mean, I probably should. I should probably just go and do them. I should probably just turn on the shrine sensor and just go to all the places where either I know there is one or I just haven't been yet.
Right, yeah.
And get them all.
That is quite convenient. The light route is right under the shrine.
Yes, that is quite convenient.
I didn't realise that for friggin' ages.
It does literally tell you in one of the first dialogues.
I didn't read it, I guess. I must have just skipped over.
But yeah, I mean, I want the other reason I want to finish doing all the shrines is to find out what you get.
Oh right, yeah. What's the
big reward?
Equivalent reward, yeah.
A hat.
Okay.
It's not going to be the tunic of the wild. I mean, it could be. I guess
it could be. Yeah,
that would be disappointing if it was the same.
Be a hat.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping for another full armor set, but then what could be special about it? Tunic of
money.
Tunic of fuse. That doesn't really make sense.
Music.
Tunic of the right arm. It's just like that's the one special thing about you now, right?
We need to talk about other games because we're running long on this podcast.
Yeah, we haven't talked about anything else.
There's a couple of other things to talk about.
Yeah, I played some Tony Hawk's 1+2.
Did you? Awesome.
Yeah, and I unlocked the Venice. The Marseille.
Marseille.
Oh, the classic.
The classic. Yeah,
that's a great level.
Yeah, although it's a it's one of the competition levels in the tour.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
whatever. So you have to do like 3 heats or whatever. So it doesn't have all of the objectives and stuff that the other ones do.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a shame, but still,
it's a nice park for just like actually.
And it's on the free play, so that's a good one to get good, and it looks really cool in updated graphics and everything. Yeah, so getting on. Because I decided to do both tours, so I'm doing like the 1 and the 2, like rather than going through 1 and then going through 2.
Oh, I see. Is that how it structures it? It kind of there's a mode where it blends them together. Oh.
No, I'm just flicking it. You can just flick between them, basically.
Oh, okay. I thought they might have come up with like here's a combined way to play all the content.
No, it's literally the games.
They are still split.
They are kind of the same. So still good. And I played some Stray.
Excellent. Just announced that it's getting an Xbox release in August.
Really, for an indie game, it's really nice looking and well produced and made and stuff. It's cool. I mean, obviously very simple, but it's not always that easy to get past those little snark bastards or whatever. Took a few goes on my last Place of Jeopardy because there's quite a lot of chill moments. It's mostly chill, but with some.
Are those like chase sequences, kind of?
Yeah, basically chase sequences. Yeah. It could be a little bit awkward to get the jumping at the right moment and stuff. Basically, there is if they get on you, you can tap quickly to kind of get them off, but it doesn't work that well. To be honest, you might as well. You kind of want to avoid them, obviously. Yeah. But it's a bit annoying because the button you need to tap is different. So often you want to jump, so you like tap whatever triangle to get rid of them, and then you immediately tap X to jump, and it's a little awkward.
Oh, I see. So you still like try to jump, but you got to be pressing a different button. It causes you a delay in sorting out.
Exactly.
Problem,
exactly. And then a little delay and you're dead, and you have to restart.
Right.
But I mean, it's only you never lose much progress at all because it quick saves all the time or auto saves all the time. But yeah. And puzzles are super simple, but still, it's nice. It's good theming and good atmosphere and
vibes.
Yeah, good vibes. And you're a cat, so what more do you want? Yeah,
but you don't hover around.
No.
You got a cat face.
You do have a cat face. You don't hover.
Don't hover.
You have a robot that hovers, though, who's your companion or whatever. You've got a droid.
Some level of hovering has been achieved.
Yeah,
sufficient amount of hovering.
Yeah, there's sufficient hovering in Stray. Anyway, what were you playing on your retro kick?
Do we have enough time to talk about anything else?
Well, we should talk about Derg.
Yes, we should talk about Derg
briefly, but
new season started.
Yeah, I'm finding it a bit underwhelming, honestly. There's just next to nothing here.
Arguably, actually more content than the start of season 3.
Well, maybe, but season 3 introduced a whole new mechanic, I suppose, in the gloop and ungloop system thing. And it just introduced the rock pox.
Yes.
In general, whereas this is just like a tiny little expansion to that. Really, like there's a couple of new enemies.
There's like 4 different rock pox enemies, and then like 2 regular new enemies.
I mean, the set
and a new boss.
Yeah, I don't mind. Is there a new boss?
corruption.
That's not that interesting.
No,
it's not a great boss.
It's not a super good boss.
And it's not like I was kind of hoping that this one, just like season 2 was, and they would iterate on like that sort of cadence where they would add like a mission type.
Yeah, an actual mission type rather than just this boss that can appear in any of the other missions.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought this would be a slightly bigger thing than it was. I mean, the jet boots are fine. I mean, the jet boots are, they're exactly what you think they might be.
Well, that was the thing we were wondering about, like how mission breaking they might be, or like how frequently they'd appear, or whether it would only be for a boss fight or whatever. But it is just a random occurrence in your mission. You can get the jet boots.
And it's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't break anything too much. They overheat pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So you can't, like, hover forever.
Use them all the time. It's like, yeah, they're fine. They're a good addition. But they don't really... They're not groundbreaking.
No.
I suppose is what you don't really break the ground when you take off. That's not really the right phrase.
I mean, it does cause fire.
Yeah, it does cause fire. A little bit of fire. But yeah, it's just kind of fine. I mean, it's always nice for Derg to get updated, but this is the first one where I've thought I'm like, maybe a bit more. Maybe I need a bit more.
Well, I mean, I would say it has actually made the game harder. Like,
Septics are mean.
All of the new enemies in total, like obviously you're not going to get all of them every mission. It's like it adds them to the random pool or whatever for how it selects what enemy types spawn in a mission. But like, I kind of struggle with just the septic spreader and the grappler thing. Those are like dangerous when they appear, but they're like obviously randomly in the normal enemy pool. The problem I have is like all the new Rockpox ones are like, it's not that they're necessarily individually dangerous, it's just that now that the Rockpox can spawn them all at once, it's like too much to keep track of.
Oh, I see.
Because you could have all, like the exploding Rockpox ones blend in with the regular Rockpox ones, so it's hard to see them coming.
Right.
And you've got the fucking Rockpox spitters, and spitters already were awful, but now you've got the Rockpox version where you have to shoot incredibly tiny weak points to actually kill them.
From miles away.
Yeah,
so the scouts only really necessarily effective against those ones.
Well, it depends on what you're built.
If you get lucky and spew, or like, one of the pistols, I suppose, could do it. But.
Yeah, it depends what build you're using. But because previously, obviously, when you triggered the Rockpox to spawn by foaming up the play carts or whatever, it used to only be able to spawn grunts and Praetorians, and that was like, you just knew that. But now it's like, I don't think the Rockpox has like a spawn pool like the regular enemies. I think they just can literally all spawn.
Right.
Apart from the very special ones like the infected Nidocyte breeder or whatever, that only the big enemies that only spawn at the start of the mission or whatever. And the Corruptor, obviously.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, all the regular Rockpox enemies just seem to come up, which kind of messes with my old strategy of dealing with the Rockpox, which is to just do it real quick and don't even fight any of the enemies until you've cleaned it up. That doesn't work quite so well. You're in much more danger of going down. But yeah, I think in general, everything got slightly more difficult, which is probably good.
Yeah, it's probably fine. Yeah, don't mind it. Don't mind that side.
I mean, it's not like I was playing on Hazard 5 anyway.
No, I haven't even unlocked it, so it's Hazard 5.
I mean, I really should, but as I've said before about Deep Rock, it's like, that's too much actual stress. I don't want it to be too easy, like a walk in the park, but I also don't want to actually have to be super hardcore about it either. Hazard 4 is fine. I can manage that.
Did you know they're making a
yes, I did.
A Survivors game?
Yes, I did know about that.
Deep Rock Survivors.
It looks really weird.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
strange.
I've seen the gameplay of it. It's because it's using the Survivors, which I mean, we have to define what the fuck Survivor type game means.
The Survivor genre is basically vampire survivors, right? And games that are now tried to clone that formula.
Yes, but like the concept of that is that it's like a twin stick shooter, except you're not doing the shooting. Like, the shooting happens automatically.
Yeah, it's more about the movement than it is the shooting.
And, like, upgrading your shooting for a roguelike or whatever, maybe mechanics. But the trouble with that is in like, the Deep Rock game, especially, because Vampire Survivors, it's 2D pixel art or whatever.
Yeah.
But in Deep Rock, when it's actually 3D models, it looks really weird because, like, bullets are just coming out of you and like you're not the model holding the gun is not shooting that gun towards any of the enemies. Just projectiles are just coming out of you in random directions.
Yeah. I mean, it's super early what they've shown so far.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they'll fix that. But I don't think
they will.
Would you even be able to fix that?
I don't think it'll fit.
But yeah, it doesn't really make much sense from the way it looks in the Deep Rock aesthetic.
Yeah, they only get away with it in Vampire Survivors because everything's like got 2 frames of animation.
Yes, because it's literally 2D pixel art.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No one thinks twice about a bullet appearing out of a thing
and from a thing that's not necessarily any type of gun.
No, it just appears from your very soul.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That looks very strange, but apparently it plays all right.
Yeah,
from what people have been saying.
People sound positive.
But yeah, get ready for many more games of that type.
Yeah, the Survivor.
A popular thing has emerged. Quick, everybody clone it.
Here come. Waiting for Need for Speed Survivors.
Cars just shoot projectiles out of them all the
time. Shooting tyres. Or shooting NOS capsules just everywhere there. Shooting police just out of them. It's red and blue lights everywhere. So there was Dirg, and my retro thing has been I've been playing Ridge Racer Type 4 a bit. I treated myself to some style.
Yeah.
It's a weird game to go back to actually, because like I have Ridge Racer. I have a huge fondness. Ridge Racer 4 in particular, I have a huge fondness for because it's possibly the most technically accomplished.
Yeah.
It is the most technically accomplished on PlayStation 1. But it's also the purest form of that driving mechanic, I think. It's just like the feel of the driving is good in that game. The way it slides, the way the grip cars handle. It's got that balance between being quite breezy in the lower difficulties, but then you can choose a team that's got like harder tuning, they call it, but like and then they become tricky to control. Requires a little more effort to do what you want to do, and I think they strike that balance super well in that game. And it's obviously got the best soundtrack. Well, not the best. I like Rage Racer's soundtrack quite a bit, but this is pretty. This is very good as well. And obviously it's got nice, lovely coloured lighting, and the bright yellow styling of the menus is cool. The sort of everything about it is just cool. Like it just oozes it. And it's the best for that. I think that game is far too easy.
Okay, you just said making it trickier.
They do make it it's trickier within the framework of itself, right? Like you pick the team you pick at the start of a Grand Prix, like defines the difficulty of the game. But I ramped it up basically to the hardest team, and it was fine. It was fine.
I mean, arguably, you have had like 3 games worth of practice very recently.
Yeah,
at this point.
That is true. I've been playing a lot of Ridge Racer of late, but it's just, and I think in some ways, like because I just want to dip into these at the moment. Like Type 4 is actually not so great for the dipping,
right?
Because it's Grand Prix. It doesn't have a single race mode.
Yeah, it's more structured.
Yeah, it's the Grand Prix mode. You have to play through each track in order. And yes, this was like the first Ridge Racer game to have 8 tracks, like the biggest number it's ever had. But you have to play them all through in order, and like you have to play them in the speed classes that are set for those tracks as well. So the first 2 tracks you have to play slow speed, and then the next 2 you play a slightly faster speed, and then the next 3 you play a slightly faster speed again. And you're kind of locked into that. And a bit of me just kind of wants to, I just want to get one of the really fast cars I've unlocked and chuck it around the other track and just do some single race challenges or something, like just to play around with this a little bit. And it kind of stops you from doing that, which works against some of its other things. Like it's got a whole garage thing. Like the way you unlock cars in that game is weird. Like it depends on your performance through each phase of the GP. So if you want to unlock all the cars, you've got to intentionally do bad in races. Like
set yourself up for a comeback.
Yeah, kind of. You have to skim. Like in the first 2, you want like if you want, you have to like in the first 2 races you're allowed to come third, but in the next 2 races you're only allowed to come second, and then from that point onwards you're allowed to be first. But if you get those thirds and seconds in those early heats, that adjusts what cars you unlock for the next stage.
Right.
And the cars are less good if you do less well. So if you do well in those early races, you're making it easier for yourself in theory. Like, I don't think the game is supposed to be that way. Like, I think it's supposed to be like, oh, you're being given a juicier car, and that going to make it a bit more of a handful to control. No, it's just easier.
Right.
Like, to me, anyway, it's just like, oh, if you've given me a faster car, I'm going to do better here. It's so the structure is kind of weird, but it wants you to keep replaying the GPs over and over again with these like combinations to unlock all the cars. And then once you've done that and you've unlocked a car, you can put it in your garage, which is, as far as I can tell, mostly pointless unless you're playing like multiplayer against someone. Then you pick a car from your garage and you go against another player's garage or something, but you have to pick from the collection of cars you've unlocked, and then you can take the livery of the team off them and just make them a color and put your own logo on. And there's got all this in there, but I can't single race them. I have to take those into time trials instead. It's weird, right? Like it's kind of, the structure kind of prevents it from being more than it is. But it is like, yeah, technically, and the way it plays and the way it feels, it's probably the best. Like, of all the Ridge Racers, right? But it's just let down by these what I would call typically Japanese of that era kind of like structural things. But it's a great game. I would I would absolutely love for them to make like a Ridge Racer collection. Of all games that could do with like a remaster collection, the early Ridge Racers would be really great.
But if you remastered them, you'd have literally the same track like 4 times in 4 different games.
Probably, yeah. Like the classic Ridge Racer 1 track is everywhere. Like, but I reckon you could take those first, like all of the pre-Boost era Ridge Racer games, right, and put them in a package, fairly easily. Even Ridge Racer 64, why not throw that in?
I think they'd be better off not releasing that as a remaster of individual games, but make it just make it a new game that just includes all the content. Big game.
Yeah, I thought about that. I wondered because it's like I imagine the handling model is kind of specific to making those tracks work.
Well, maybe.
And the handling model does vary quite a bit from game to game. So I wonder. But yeah, wouldn't that be great though? Isn't that just like a super obvious thing to do?
Maybe. I mean, there's a lot of games that could be remade nowadays.
But it's Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
That's what I've done.
3.
We better end this podcast, but I will very briefly say I've been playing a bit of Oxygen Not Included as well, because for Clayfest, which just coincidentally happens to line up with the Steam Summer Sale, I think. Don't think they intended it like this, but for their Clayfest thing where they do like all their games get updates or whatever, the Oxygen Not Included one has made like a special map seed, like it's a fixed seed so everyone gets the same map, but it's also the terrain generation has been modified where it basically takes the normal terrain generation and turns it 90 degrees on the side.
Oh, weird.
Which, in some cases, they've actually made special... Well, I guess they haven't really made special assets for. They've taken assets and rotated them 90 degrees and then made them actually work. So, like, all the random, like, abandoned offices and shit that you get generating in the asteroid just have, like, all the desks are stuck to the walls now. Because it's all been rotated 90 degrees.
That's quite funny.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that... It's basically the same rooms, but all the stuff is rotated 90 degrees, so it all attached to the walls, except for, of course, in cases where it's something you need to interact with, because then it still needs to be somewhere you can walk to.
Yeah,
so
it still needs to be on the floor.
It still needs to be on the floor, so they've slightly adjusted the layout of those rooms to make that work. But it's quite an interesting, like...
Yeah, what a weird little update. Like, that's kind of cool.
And then it also, because of the way it's rotated 90 degrees, it means, like, on the left side of the map, there is where the magma biome is, except now it's vertical. And on the right side of the map is where, like, the space biome is, except now that's vertical. Except that doesn't quite fully commit to that idea, because there's still, like, space at the top of the map as well. Okay. But it's not like the space biome, it's just, like, just space. Because that's still where they need the meteorites to fall, and you need the space to be able to launch rockets rather than just like this one column.
Yeah, okay, they still have to go up, right? Yeah.
So you still need the literal space, but like the space terrain is on the right-hand side of the map.
Weird.
But apart from that, substantially mostly the same. Yeah. Apart from it being a fixed seed, which, you know, gives a community aspect to it where, like, everyone is playing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Except technically not the exact same thing, because like you can still toggle on and off the story traits, which are those special hidden buildings that spawn that do special functions. You can turn them on and off, and then that they don't generate in the same place depending on which ones you've got turned on or off. So that can very marginally modify the terrain generation. But yes, mostly it's all the same for everyone. It even does they even fully committed to the joke where when you launch the game and it loads into the map, normally there's a little window that pops up that has like a little description where it's like, oh no, I've got stuck in this asteroid and we need to get out or whatever, or I need to survive. But now when you launch the rotated map, that box spawns in sideways and then rotates so you can read it.
Okay. Nice.
That's quite nice.
Yeah.
But yes, that's why I've been playing Oxygen Uncluded again.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. I like that.
And they have actually updated the game as well. As like, bug fixes and shit.
Sure.
Not any real major content updates.
Yeah, but nice little things.
Yes, they are still continuing to update that game. They are still adding random cosmetics to the cosmetic loot box thing that they implemented.
Right.
Whatever that's for.
Is there any real money involved?
Still no monetary mechanism involved in that at all.
Interesting. Well, that's
still
cool.
Just they make you want to play the game I guess.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yep.
Get you hype from whenever their other team makes a sequel, I guess. Like keep you in. Keep it in your mind. They
are making a new different game. I forget what it is, but I was slightly enthusiastic about it when I saw the trailers. So I was like, oh, it's a clay game. I really should try and remember what that is for next time, but it's too late in this podcast. It's too warm in this room.
It is getting pretty toasty.
All right. Is it time to wrap this one up then?
Yeah.
I believe so.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We have a YouTube channel which has fascinating Let's Plays that we do. So check those out. Yeah. We're currently playing through Beyond Good and Evil, which is pretty good if you haven't seen it before.
Pretty good. I mean, yeah, the episode I haven't uploaded yet started to feel a little clunky.
A little more
clunky than the PC port already does.
There's always mid-sections.
Yeah.
Mid-sections. But we try to keep the fun up during those less interesting parts so we can get to the good stuff. So join us on YouTube for those. It's Happy Salad. Search for Happy Salad. And we'll be back in another couple of weeks with another Saladcast like this. So join us then. Goodbye.
Like this, but not exactly the same as this.
Well, probably still a lot of Zelda.
Yeah, we shall see. Yeah, catch you then.
Bye.